Hi guys, I think we are live now. Good to see a lot of people have already joined. We'll wait for a minute or so so that more can join. Good to see all those who have joined. Just put in chat how your preparation is going, how things are going as such. And hi Kritika, just put in a hi, just let me know how your preparation is going. And I want this session to be as interactive as possible. So do let me know specifically in VARC how things are. If you need any specific doubt resolved, please feel free to ask. I want to answer questions mainly so that this is one of the last few streams that we'll have before CAT. We'll be doing more streams, but one of the few ones which will be dedicated to VARC. So if you have any lingering doubts about VARC, feel free to ask them. I'll be trying to cover everything. I'll try to answer all the doubts that are there. So I hope this is like a very interactive and helpful session for all the students. So good to see a lot of people have joined us. Hi Kritika, hi Piyush, hi Karan, hi Shreya, hi Anirudh, hi Vishal, hi Shashank, hi Vishal, Devansh, Lakshay. Hi, good to see all of you guys. How to increase my score from 20 to 30 in VRC. So basically what I will say is that in VRC, the first thing that you should always focus on and get right is RC. If your RC is right, your scores will be around in 30s. If your scores are below 30, which means that something is still not going right in RC as such. The target in RC should be 80% accuracy and at least 3 RCs. So how do you get to 80% accuracy? Basically what I always ask students to do is basically do active reading. So in this particular session, I'll revise what is active reading, what I want you to do, and why I want you to do it. So I'll explain why it works, how it works, and where is it particularly needed as such. Okay, if you get RC right, if you do active reading, if your accuracy is up to 80%, and if you are able to do 3 RCs, your scores will automatically go into the 30s as such. So that is basically what I would actually start with. Good to see a lot of people who have joined us. So many people have this issue where they are not able to cross 25, not get to 30 as such. So I'll basically first focus on RCs. For all those who are struggling in their 20s, I'll say get RCs right. That will get you to 30s, that will get you to 40s. VA is a bonus. To get a good score, a decent score in VARC, you need good RC. That is the start of it, start and not the end of it, but started, but like 80% of the work is just RC. Okay. RC is very good, ma'am, but VA is not going good. Siddharth, that is okay. If RC is very good, you still have a decent score. What I would say is that to RC, add one extra strength, which is Parasummary. If you're good at RC, you will be good at Parasummary. Your attempt strategy should be like that. I'll do RCs first, then I'll do Parasummary. If RC and Parasummary is also going well, then you can add one more to the list, which is RC, Parasummary, Para-Insertion or Para-Completion as some people call it. If you are able to do Para-Completion also, then you can go towards OOC Para-Jumbles. So this is basically how you should keep adding to the strengths. If RC is good, like 75% of the work is done, don't, it is like an excellent start. Just keep adding that one bit extra by adding Parasummary to it. Both RC and Parasummary are the same skill set. So if you're good at RC, you will be good at Parasummary as such. Okay. Vidita, as I mentioned, 25 in VRC, focus on RC. I'll first tell you exactly how to do well in RC. I'll be covering that in this session. And I want you guys to really realize that RC is where the marks will come from. I have, for the last 10 years, I've taken the CAT. My scores have been somewhere in 50s, late 50s to 60s as such. Most of my marks come from RCs. Like the bulk of them come from RCs. Basically, what happens is that of the 16 questions that are there in RCs, I mostly do like 15 out of 16 right or like 14 out of 16 right. I hardly get any question wrong in RC. So when that is your accuracy, when that is the attempt rate, all 4 RCs, nearly full perfect accuracy, by default your score will be high. From all of my experience, my worst part of VARC is actually Para-Jumbles. Because I have known Para-Jumbles to be very arbitrary. I have known that CAT or Para-Jumbles are sometimes not even corresponding to the actual source from which it has been taken from. So the source says it is 1, 3, 2, 4, but the answer is 1, 2, 3, 4. So Para-Jumbles tend to be a high risk, low reward strategy. From my experience, I know that Parasummary is the one which I always also get right. So always you should remember that RC is where you're going to get most of your marks. RCs are the make or break of your section. Apart from that, from the VA, like the 4 parts of VA, you have to identify which part you are actually good at. If you are good at RC, you will be good at Parasummary. If you are good at Parasummary, you can be good at Para-Insertion. OOC parajumbles are a fight, are a bit difficult. They are also slightly subjective and you can get lucky or you can be very unlucky there. So I would always say first focus on RCs. Okay. Good to see all those who have joined. I see a lot of people have joined us. A small request from my side for all those who have joined us. Please like the stream. It helps us quite a bit in reaching more students. And one more thing that I would suggest is that for those who are looking for the last minute preparation, the last leg of getting the practice in, do check out Cracku's mock package. So we have 5 mocks and 15 sectionals for just rupees 499. It's an incredible deal. All of the mocks are very, very high quality mocks, which with video solutions, with we have like faculty attempts. So they are excellent mocks as such. So do check out our mocks, the mock package. The link has been put in the description box. Okay. So, ma'am, can you take a session on para insertion? My accuracy is low in para insertion. In this particular stream, I'll be covering para insertion also. So, don't worry about that. In this particular session, everything will be covered. So, this might run slightly long. We have put 2 hours, 2 to 4, but it might go slightly beyond that. What I would actually suggest for all those students who have joined us, please head over to cracku.in/cracku.in/live. So here the test will be there. So the structure of the session I'll tell you. So firstly I'll start with RC. I'll explain the do's and don'ts. What are the things that you should remember, what you should actually do, what you should know, what you should avoid doing. Then I will give you 2 RCs, RC1, RC2. This is an easy to moderate difficulty set. This is a moderate to hard set as such. The sets will be basically, one is an informative set, which is the easy to moderate set. The second is a philosophical set, which I know many people struggle with. So these are the 2 RCs. I want you to first revise what you should be doing in RCs, what you should not be doing in RCs, and then attempt 2 sets with me. Then we will have para summary. My attempt strategy is also the same. First is reading comprehension, para summary, para insertion, para jumbles, OOC para jumbles. So over here also you will have 2 questions. First we will revise what to do, what not to do. Then you have para insertion. I'll again tell you what exactly you should be looking for, what you should not be looking for. And again 2 questions. Para jumbles, 2 questions. And OOC para jumbles, again 2 questions. All of these questions, I want you to not just look at me explain it or look at the question without attempting it. I want you to attempt these questions. See, the way humans learn is by doing things. You won't learn by just watching me solve it or by watching how I answer questions. You have to attempt it yourself, only then it will actually stick in your subconscious. So what I want you to do is grab a pen and pencil now. We are going to be solving all of these today. You have to solve it with me. You have to go to cracku.in/live. All of these questions will be there in test format. Okay. So I want you guys to grab a pen and pencil. Be very ready for RCs, for para jumbles, para summary. Everything we'll solve today. I want this to be like this one big practice before CAT so that you know exactly what is required, what you have to do. There is clarity in your attempt as such. Okay. So everybody ready? I hope all of you guys have headed over to cracku.in/live. Yeah, I see most of you guys over here already. Yeah, I see quite a few have joined. For those who have not joined, please head over because then you can take it in the actual test format. And those who are joining us just before leaving YouTube, can you please like the stream on YouTube? It helps us quite a bit on like motivating us, reaching more students and all. Okay, I'll try to answer some questions while you guys grab the pen and pencil. Yeah, we'll start soon, Rupal, don't worry. I generally tend to skip PJs as they are time consuming and low probability of getting right. Should I go on with the same in CAT? Yeah, sure. Basically what I would say is that don't skip it. Leave it for the last and put in some value. See, all theta questions, OOC parajumbles and parajumbles, they are essentially free. It's like free marks because there is no negative marking there. So you should not leave it unattempted. But I also leave it as the last thing that I attempt. I always go RCs first, para summary next, para insertion then, and after that I go to OOC para jumbles where it is 1 in 5 chance, and then para jumbles where the probability is even lower. So I always attempt in this format. The last 10-15 seconds I basically used to put something in the parajumbles and OC parajumbles. If I am running out of time, I'll put some value in, because I generally feel that you should never leave any theta question unattempted. Not just true in VARC, even in LRDI, if you attempt 2 sets also, go and see any set that you have left unattempted. If it has a theta question, put in some value over there, 0, 1, 2, 3, anything put there. Don't leave it blank, because it is always better to attempt something in theta, because there's no negative marking. So if like you get the tukka right, you get 3 additional marks. 3 additional marks could be like a huge percentile change in your end result as such. So never leave it unattempted, but you have to essentially keep it as the last priority. A trick video on VARC. Kunal, I don't think tricks work, but I'll tell you exactly what you should actually look for. I'll tell you the traps and how to avoid the traps. There are no tricks, there are just traps. These guys who said VARC, I also think like them. So I also know that, okay, if I'm making an RC question, I have to make 1 right answer and 3 traps. And I have to make 3 convincing traps that people have to fall into. So I'll actually tell you what traps are, how to avoid them. What if grammar questions or some new type of questions will come, maybe poem instead of RC? Bhavesh, that will not happen. I'll tell you what expected changes might be there. So RC will definitely be there, not poem RC, proper RC. Para summary will definitely be there. Now I wonder whether para insertion, para jumble, OC para jumble, their numbers are not fixed. See, basically last year there were 2 of para insertion, para jumble and OC para jumble. The year before that they had skipped OC para jumble entirely, just kept para insertion and para jumbles as such. So those are something that they might actually tweak a bit. So there might not be 2 of each, the number might change, one of the 4 might be skipped as such. But what will not happen is that they won't touch RCs. They might increase the number of questions, but there will be at least 4 RCs as such. In general, I feel they have found a very nice spot for the number of RC questions and the number of VA questions as such. I don't think that they will tweak it, but RCs, at least 16 RC questions will be there. At least 2 para summary questions will be there. That I'm absolutely certain of. They would not change that. Grammar they will not put. Basically, they have already mentioned what kind of questions will come. And our big indicator of what will come is basically they will do this test, like a preliminary test of the questions that will come. They generally put the last year's paper there. But the last year's paper, if they put, it is a admission of basically what the syllabus is. So when that like the test window comes, we can again check whether the syllabus has not changed. But I'm 90%, 99% sure that the syllabus won't change. Only in the VA questions, one of them might not be there, or the number of questions might be shifted a bit. The RC part will not be affected at all. Okay. I'm 0 now for VARC. Can I improve this year? So anyhow, see, with this particular session, I want you to start, go over to cracku.in, try to solve. I want you to listen to what I'm saying, try to follow the instructions, and then see how many marks you get. If you are 0 in VARC, I think your strategy is wrong. I don't think that anybody can really be 0 in VARC. I think it would basically mean that there is something, like there is a misunderstanding of what exactly is required, how you have to answer the questions. So let us actually get started. I'll try to start with the reading comprehension, and I'll try to answer as many questions as possible. I know there are a lot of questions, but head over to cracku.in/live. I want to solve as many of the doubts that come while we are solving, okay? Anmol is asking, I want to increase my accuracy in RCs, how to eliminate options and how to understand RCs clearly. So there I will start with how to do that. So let's take a look at reading comprehension. What are the do's and what are the don'ts? Okay. See, in reading comprehension, what is being tested? Your comprehension skill is being tested. Your ability to understand is being tested. One of the students once complained, ma'am, you spend so much time only explaining the passage, you don't spend time explaining the question. The point is that the question, the options, the point is that the question and the options should be the easy part. You should really not be worried about that part. You should focus almost entirely on the passage. If you have a very good handle on the passage, the questions and the options will be very easy to handle. So in your RC, you should spend about 8 minutes per RC, 5 minutes on the passage and 3 minutes on the questions. Now some people might think 3 minutes on the questions is very little, but the whole point is that if you understand the passage very well, the questions become much easier. If your hold on the passage is weak, you get confused in the questions. See, confusion doesn't help. See, in a quant question, I spent time solving the question. I have some equations, I will say that, okay, 3x plus 5y is this, 5x plus 2y is this. I solve the equations, I get the answer. But it is not the same in VARC. You are not solving anything in the questions. There is nothing that is there inside the question to solve. Before you go to the question only, you should be able to answer most of the questions that are there. So the time spent on the passage is the most important time that you have to spend. This, if you don't do, it will be very difficult. Okay, so that is firstly what I want you to know, that you should take 8 minutes per RC, 5 minutes for the passage, 3 minutes for the questions. So how do you read the passage? So I want you to do active reading. A lot of people have a lot of reluctance to do it. No matter how many times that I actually tell people, do active reading, people don't do it. So I don't know exactly how to convince you. So somebody actually who works at Cracku was telling me that they struggle to actually keep their accuracy level and concentration level after the second RC. So the first RC, they are like doing very well, accuracy is very high. Second RC, it dips. Third RC is almost negative. The entire third RC, they get more questions incorrect than correct. They actually score negative marks by the third RC. Then I realized that I asked them that, do you do active reading? And he's like, no, I don't do active reading because it takes too much time. Then I said that is basically what is happening. If you don't do active reading, when you start the first RC, you're like full going and to do it. You have full concentration. You're able to read, you're able to understand, you're able to remember what is there in the passage. By the second RC, your brain is slightly getting fried by what is there. By the second RC, you're like tired, I don't want to read anymore. By the third RC, your concentration is gone, your ability to understand is gone, you are not able to retain anything that you have read, and then it becomes like accuracy goes into the dustbin completely by the third RC. So what I want you to do is do active reading. At least after the second RC, I want you to do active reading. Active reading basically means that when you have the passage, for every paragraph, write down the main point of the paragraph. If you write all of these main points, you get a good grasp of the passage. You know exactly what the author is trying to say through the passage. Your brain is tired, but by forcing it to do this, you are forcing your brain to continue working. If you don't do this, your brain will shut off. Even if you want to will it to continue to read, it will shut off. This forces it to continue to work. So I want you to do active reading. That is the only way in which you can maintain your accuracy as you go into the second, third RC as such. What you should not do, skim the passage. This is a very bad habit that some students have. They skim the passage, go to the questions, read the question, then say, okay, this I will reread it again. This will work fine in informative RCs. This will be terrible in persuasive RCs. This will be terrible in analytical RCs. This will be terrible in philosophical RCs. In any of these other kind of RCs, this particular method will be catastrophic because you will not understand the overall point of the passage if you do that. So I'll always say that don't skim the passage at all. You should understand the passage deeply. You should have a full hold on the passage and then only you should go forward. Okay. I'll answer some questions. Many students have questions till now. Okay. So I practice RC with your approach active reading, and there are times when I'm not able to comprehend the main point, but I note down the important keywords in the passage. Wishes don't do that. The keywords etc. not really what is important. See, basically if somebody is speaking to you, so what do you notice when somebody is talking to you? You notice how like the emotions with which they talk. Are they angry? Are they happy? What are they saying? If you just note down the 5 words that they have said, would it really convey what they have said to you? So if I am telling you something like, okay, this is really wrong, this policy is super bad, this policy is biased towards a particular community. If in this particular you just note down a few keywords, would you really understand the point of that paragraph? Would you understand why the person is angry? In some cases, if you find a correct keyword, it is fine. But in sometimes you will miss the real emotion as such. Whenever you are reading a passage, it is not important to focus on the details like the words used, the evidence, the examples used. These are all like tools to convey the message. What is important is you understand the emotion. So if somebody is very angry, you should say that angry about XYZ. If somebody is trying to argue for something, you should say arguing for XYZ. If somebody is saying or informing about a particular experiment, say that experimental setup is given here. Just explain the message without like the TLDR version. The TLDR version is not keywords, right? The TLDR version is the heart of the this. You have to give the TLDR version of what is happening, what is being said, what is the message as such. That you should write down. Which VA questions have no negative marking? Parajumbles have no negative marking. OSC parajumbles have no negative marking. Any question which has type in the answer, theta, that has no negative marking. Not just in VA, anywhere. Any theta question has no negative marking. Okay. I am following Cracku test series and VIS I score very low, and when I do analysis, I found out that either I marked the correct answer and then changed it. I was confused between the two options. Aditya, what happens is basically, I will tell you about the confusion between two options. I know exactly 2 times when it will happen. One is when you are kind of underconfident. I knew a person who used to work here who was like a content manager at Cracku, and they basically used to feel that they used to feel very underconfident about VRC. They used to second guess every question, every answer. He came from a vernacular medium, so he felt that I can't possibly do well in VRC. So even if his instinct told him that it is option C, he would be like, no, maybe I'm actually wrong about it. Maybe it's a trap. So a lot of people overthink, they are underconfident about their choices, and then they end up choosing the wrong answer. So they initially know, in their gut, they know one of the answers is correct. Then they keep and change it to the another answer. So this is basically coming from a place of underconfidence and a place of thinking things. Trust your ability, trust your confidence, trust your understanding of the passage. So when you spend time on the passage, thinking the passage, you will get this grip on the passage, right? Trust your understanding of the passage. Don't go by, okay, what is given in the options, or if the option sounds very nice or very convincing, don't go with that. One more thing that you have to remember in VRC is you have to look for distortions. In VRC, any option you will have, suppose an option is given, okay, A, B, C, D. One nice trap that I like to set is, this entire, say, suppose D option, I will try to make it very close to the answer, where it will be using words from the passage. I'll use proper words and phrases from the passage. So somebody reads the phrase from the passage and knows that, yeah, this phrase is there in that given paragraph, and that paragraph is very close where that information is given. So probably it is the right answer. Then I will put this and I will trick you, because the remaining part of this will be a distortion. So I do this because I know that people have this mindset of looking for the same words. Oh, same words are used, so this must be the right option. So don't fall for that trap. Second is distortion in logic, where I introduced a false cause-effect relationship. That cause-effect relationship is not there. The cause-effect relationship I introduce because I say that, okay, these two events are mentioned in the passage. I'll say that A causes B. So those kind of distortions you should really look out for. This is basically introducing a false relationship or a false logical reasoning in a particular option, something which is not given in the original passage. This is a distortion I generally put. Then there are the most sneakiest distortions, which are the one-word distortions. The whole answer is fine, but one word is slightly changed. So if the passage basically says some of the researchers feel that this could be probably the case, then I'll change that some to say that majority of researchers feel that this is the case, or I'll change it to say that most of the researchers feel this is the case. That one word distortion is the hardest to find, but you have to be very, very careful of any word which changes the degree or the number of any particular assertion. If it changes from some to most to all, or if it changes the degree, if it is bad to horrible to like catastrophic, those if there is a change in number or change in degree, you should be very careful of those words as such. These are the common distortions that most paper setters introduce in their RC options, and you should be very, very careful with that. Okay. Okay. I'm unable to focus on RCs and lose focus, especially in the RCs. This is difficult. Also, the thing is that that runs in my mind is that I want to comprehend this. So I would say that is basically where the active reading comes in. You don't have to understand the whole passage. Just focus on that one paragraph. That one paragraph, if you are able to read, understand and write down the main point, your work will be done. That would be the best way. in which you can actually understand the passage as such. Okay. One more thing that I will say is that for those who are not able to, I'll just take some more space from here. If you have two close options, you are not able to figure out between two close options. Okay, A, B, both of them seem correct. If these two close options, if this part is common to both options, the same part is given, say ABC, ABC, and both of these ABC has to be there in the correct option. So you feel that, okay, both A and B have some part which is correct. Now, which of these two options is the correct one? So ignore this part. You know that this part is correct and it is common to both options. So ignore this part. Just focus on the part which is different. On the parts that are different, there will be one which is correct, there will be one which is wrong. Don't average saying this is different, this is correct. So together it sounds about correct. So there is basically where the confusion will be. Whenever any part is common to options, you should ignore that common part. Okay. So with this, we will try to do the first easier RC. I want you to implement all of these things in that RC. So let's get started. Oh, informative RC. So the same thing, the first RC that I mentioned in reading comprehensions, I want you to do it in informative RC. One additional thing that I'll tell you in informative RC is, don't try to remember details. The RC that I'm going to give you is like full of details. Like, okay, this person did that, this person did that, that happened, this happened. Don't remember the details. Just write a high level summary of what is given. That, okay, this at this level this was discussed, at this level this was discussed, at this level this was discussed. You have to, in informative RCs, you have to be very, very sparing while you write down the main point. The main point should be very short, because in informative RCs, I know a lot of students have this bad habit of writing the summary, trying to summarize all the information that is given. Your main point is not a summary. You have to just tell at what level or what is the like core message there. You should not summarize the details. Ignore the details in informative RCs. Only when specific details are asked, okay, specific question is there, then you go back to the passage and look at the passage then. Otherwise, ignore the details completely. Okay. So with that, I will post the first RC and I'll answer some of the questions that you guys have. Okay. Anybody who has joined us now and does not know where to take the test, head on to cracku.in in/live. The test is live over there. I want you to take this in the test format so that you have a good hold on solving. Okay. One more thing I'd like to add, for those who are looking for Cracku's mock, we have a like a very nice offer going on for 5 mocks and 15 sectionals. They are for just rupees 499, 500 rupees essentially. So very, very good deal, especially in the last few days. You will be able to use only 5 mocks and 15 sectionals. That would be a very good use of your time also. So do check out Cracku's mocks. That offer is there in the description box. Ishan says that my accuracy and confidence takes a dip in philosophy-based RCs. What should I do? So we will have a philosophy-based RC after this, and I'll walk you through it. I want you to know that the fear is basically unnecessary. A lot of people like feel that, okay, I didn't understand this phrase, I didn't understand this word. That would mean that I didn't understand the passage. I also don't understand many words at times. Like, my vocabulary is good, but it is not perfect. There are sometimes words or phrases in RCs that I don't understand. Sometimes they refer to things that I have not heard about. So then I don't understand it, obviously. But I don't let that mean, I don't feel that that means that I don't understand the passage. A passage is not a line, a passage is not a word. A passage is like a 500 words. If you have not understood one line, it doesn't affect the understanding of the passage. So you should not come with that inferiority complex or like the underconfidence that maybe I have not understood the passage. Feel confident. I have understood the passage. I have spent time writing down the main point. I have done all of this work. If I have done all of this work, it means that I have understood something. So you should essentially know that if you have put in the effort, have the confidence that whatever your gut is telling you that this is the answer, you should trust it from that point of time. So if you put in the initial work to understand the passage, the next part, which is like getting the answer, knowing what instinctively what is the answer, will come easier. Okay. Yeah, issue with speed reading, it takes a lot of time to finish passage with active reading. Prabhuth, I will tell you that it takes 5 minutes. If you don't believe me, look at my attempt. I did a live attempt a few weeks ago. So take a look at that live attempt. I spent so much time reading. A lot of people started, I think, commenting. I saw later on that people were feeling that I might not finish the section as such. I managed to finish 23 out of the 24 questions as such. See, remember that you have to essentially read and read carefully and read properly. The questions become very easy. If you don't read properly, if you don't spend time reading properly, the questions become harder and then you waste time there. I feel any time I spend on the question is such a waste of time, because by the time I come to the questions, I should know the answer. I shouldn't like spend any time thinking, is it A, is it B, is it C? Because if you are there, it is kind of gone, because it means that you have not really answered the question. I'll draw a parallel to LRDI, okay? If you have solved an LRDI properly, you consider all the cases, you have all the cases in front of you, then if a question comes that, okay, in this particular case, what is the answer? You will be like, yeah, in this case, I see my table, okay, this is the answer. If you have only solved LRDI partially, okay, and you have considered only one case of the LRDI when multiple cases are there, then you suddenly come to a question and that question asks in a different scenario, what is the answer? And then you're like, okay, ye scenario to hai hi nahi mere paas. Then you realize that the problem was never the question. Problem is that you have to spend time making sure that the entire set is first solved. Then the questions you can breeze through. Same way should be your attitude with VARC. If you understand the RC, if you spend time with the RC as such, 5-6 minutes, the question become very easy. Then you will just have to mark the right answer based on your understanding of the passage. Okay. Query on YouTube. 1 second, I'll just take a look at it. Okay. Manan, should I not write during RCs? Write during RCs. You have to write down the main point as such. Always do great in third RC that I attempt, and it is RC for which I have very less time, like 8 minutes for me, and in this RC I never write anything on paper. Manan, basically that means you are trusting the gut with the third RC, you are overthinking the first two RCs. It is not active reading. You are spending like lot of time like overthinking things in the first two RCs. When you don't have time to overthink, you go with the instinct as such. It means your instincts are good, but you can then do the same thing with the first two RCs. See, the active reading is for like clarity of thought. After that, you will get a lot of insight into the RC, you will have a good instinct into the RC, then you can do better in all three RCs as such. Okay. One thing that I would like to mention to all students is that we have recently released the 25 DILR sets for CAT. So these are basically the, we have chosen these based on what we expect to come in CAT. And these are like CAT level questions as such, exactly CAT level questions, exactly what we expect to be there in CAT. So I would say that if you're looking for the last minute practice of what to solve, how to prepare in the last moments for CAT, do take a look at the 25 DILR sets video, because the sets are excellent quality. The sets are exactly varied according to what can come. So it will be proper practice, representative of what can come in CAT, as well as exactly at the difficulty level that will come in CAT. So do check out that video. Ishan is saying I am getting 50% accuracy in my mocks, but while solving previous year's question I have 90% accuracy. What should I do now? So basically that is good, Ishan. Basically what that means is that you have a greater accuracy when you are solving previous year's questions, you are finding them easier. See, the whole point with accuracy is that when you are solving with full confidence, when you're solving with like understanding, your accuracy will be high. If you're underconfident about the topic, about the content, about any of the passages, then the accuracy is low. When you solve a lot of questions, when you practice a lot of questions, you will generally see your accuracy improve over time. Okay. So if your accuracy is at 90% now in the previous year's questions, keep at it, because generally what will happen is that over the course of time, your accuracy has been built up. Is there any plan to release top 25 RCs, VARCs? Yes, Vaibhav will be releasing for VARC also. We will be releasing sets for all. We have already released 100 questions for quant. We have released 25 DILR sets. We will be doing the same for RC also. Kaushal, if you're rereading the passage, then you're not following my recommendation of active reading. Do active reading, it does help a lot. If you do one active reading where you read through, write down the main point, you won't have to reread the passage. Also, those guys who are actually searching for the video, the links are there in the description box. So for both the offer as well as the 25 DLR sets, you will find the description, the links in the description box. Okay. Tanya saying that the strategy, what should be the strategy? If you're doing 30 to 40 in previous year's questions, that is good. What should be your strategies? So she's doing RCs and then the VA part. That's a good strategy. Even I follow that. Basically, there are two ways to attempt the VRC section. Do all RCs, then do the VA part. Or do one RC, one VA, one RC, one VA. See, basically the reason why this is the second strategy is followed by Maruti. The first strategy is followed by me. Maruti does this one RC, one VA question because he feels that, okay, he doesn't want to read back to back. It kind of becomes taxing after some time to read back to back. If reading is not really a problem for you, then you can just first go through all the RC and then do the VA questions. If sometimes you get like burnt out by reading too much, then you can do one RC, one VA. Okay, let's see how people have done. Last 43 seconds. So I hope most of you are able to put in your answers for all the questions by now. Somebody saying in practice I get good marks, but in mock I get very bad marks. See, basically, all of this basically means that you know how to solve. You are not able to do it under pressure or exam pressure as such. It comes with practice. Like people say, give me like confidence. I'm underconfident. Confidence comes from hard work. If you put in the hard work, if you put in the practice, you will get confidence. If you do active reading, that hard work of writing down the main point gives you confidence. Then you won't second guess. Then you will say, no, I put in the hard work. I know the answer is this. So basically, I always believe that hard work gives you motivation. It gives you confidence. It gives all the like, it helps you handle anxiety. All of that basically you can overcome through hard work. If you are very, very meticulous in your work, if you're not lazy at all during the exam as such, you will see the result. There is always this human tendency, right, to slack off. Like, oh, it is so difficult to write all of these points, I'll just slack off at one point of time. But you should say that, no, I will not slack off at any point of time during these this exam. At like all three sections, I'm going to give my full. I will not slack off even for a second, even for a minute. Because the minute you slack off, the minute you are like slightly off, that is where errors occur. Okay. So let us see how people have done. I think most of you found this particular set not that difficult to do. So I think many of you were able to solve the first question. I know this question is controversial. I think many people found this question controversial and there are a lot of doubts on this, and I'll explain why. And I stand with the solution. I know a lot of people will have said that 2 is also something that can be inferred, and I'll explain why that it cannot be inferred. This I think was doable. I don't know why people were not able to do it. I think it is just a question of time. People might not have been able to submit in time. And yeah, I think this is also an average difficulty level. 3 and 4 were not difficult questions as such, but I know that 2 was a not just difficult, a controversial question. I'll say that. Okay. So let's first go with the first question. Okay. Let's first understand the passage, then we'll go to the questions. Okay. The idea that police are the only answer to preventing crime and protecting people is one that has been so ingrained into American society that it can be hard to imagine a different reality. But amid a national uprising against police brutality and systemic racism, activists say it's time to reimagine what the public actually needs. So essentially, what is the author saying? That we need to rethink policing in the light of recent events. The US spends more than $100 billion on policing per year. For many major cities, police department budgets make up a disproportionate amount of overall spending, even as other departments face steep cuts amid the coronavirus. Now that spending is coming under scrutiny. So police budget, huge, and it is coming under scrutiny. Scrutiny means that people are asking, why is this budget so much? Why are they getting so much money as such? People across the country are ready for a defunding framework, says Patrice Cullors, co-founder of Black Lives Matter and founder of Reform LA Jails. We are ready to chip away at the line items inside of a police budget that really are nonsensical. People should not be in charge. Police should not be in charge of mental health crises. They should not be in charge of dealing with homelessness. They should not be in charge of supporting people with drug dependency and addiction. Those are 3 line items which we can cut out of the police budget and then put that back into healthcare. So what is being mentioned over here? So the ideas of Patrice Cullors are being mentioned, where she is saying that there are many parts within a police budget that should not be given to the police. It instead should be done by other people. So she gives 3 examples. So she gives 3 examples of cuts that are needed in the police budget. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let's take a look at the next paragraph. In Washington, Mayor Muriel Bowser has painted a Black Lives Matter mural on streets near the White House and rechristened an intersection as Black Lives Matter Plaza. Activists have been critical of the mayor's proposed cuts to programs like the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, noting she has proposed budget increases to the police department. So this notes what has happened in Washington. So Washington mayor, both what she has done pro the Black Lives Matter and also the criticism she has gotten. Pro Black Lives Matter plus criticism that she has gotten. Okay, so we get a sense of what somebody has done. Here what the BLM founder is saying, here what the Washington mayor has done. The proposed restrictions vary by city. In Charlotte, City Council member Braxton Winston has introduced a motion that would prohibit money from being spent on chemical agents used to disperse crowds and protesters, while creating a police oversight committee made up of City Council and City Manager to review the department's spending. There's always been a political ability to make these changes, Winston said. It just seems that we may be in a moment where people that are in positions like mine are finally getting the police will. So here, these are the comments about what is happening at a city council level. So this was what was done at a mayoral level. This is an activist level. This is at a city council level. State officials are also hearing these demands. The Minnesota legislature's People of Color and Indigenous Caucus suggested policy changes, including funding community-based interveners and problem solvers that can partner with local peace officers. And in Colorado, Democrats in the state Senate introduced a police accountability proposal aimed at increasing transparency. But there are few, if any, specific proposals currently being proposed on the state level to defund the police. Much of the energy is currently on the local and federal levels. So this is what is happening at the state level. So in general, whenever a lot of information is given, ye hai, wo hai, ye karna hai, wo kar rahe hai, ignore all of that. Just write at what level it is being discussed. So we have at the activist level what is being asked. At the mayoral level, some actions have been taken. At a city council level, some propositions have been passed. some steps have been taken. At a state level, not much has been done. Congress is under pressure to do something. One letter from more than 200 activists, elected officials and other community leaders called on the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer to defund the police, urging them to funnel money that a recent coronavirus response bill allocated to law enforcement to other emergency response instead. So this is at a Congress level. Democrats are expected to reveal a sweeping police reform bill next week aimed at tackling systemic racism. The New York Times reported that among the proposals currently included in a draft are banning chokeholds and tracking police misconduct with a national registry. It's unclear, however, whether the legislation will include anything that cuts federal funds. So this is at a legislative level, or you can even say this is at a national level. So now that we have a understanding, okay, what is happening everywhere, what can you say about this passage? Look at the levels that we have written. The earlier part is the context. The author himself is saying that we need to rethink, okay, we need to understand and cut at the police budget, that we should really rethink about the police budget and the policing behavior as such. Then information is given about activist level, what is required, mayoral level, that is what is required, city council level, what is required, state level, what is required, what is not required, what is happening, Congress level, what is happening, and national or legislative level, what is happening. So different levels they are saying that, okay, this is the movement here, this is the movement here, this is the movement here. So overall this is just an informative passage telling that, okay, there's a need to do something and what is actually taking place at different levels. Now that we have understood the passage, let us take a look at the questions. Which of the following options would be consistent with the opinions of Parasummary? Till here, is anybody having any doubt about this? Is okay. Is there an issue with the stream? Anybody having issue with the stream as such? Anybody having, just let me know if the stream is properly visible and all. Okay. Gaurav, very apt summary of the passage, sab police ke paison ke piche pade hue hai, which is correct. That is at the heart of the passage. No, that's what the main point should be. What is really being mentioned? Ki police ke paise hatao. Everybody is saying कि मैं कैसे पुलिस बजट से पैसे निकालूंगा. That is the point as such. Okay, so you are at the correct this as such. Anybody who is not able to see, as mentioned in the chat, just refresh the stream. You should be able to see it as such. That White House para is not clear. Which one? This one, no, the White House. This one. Okay, so Washington one, no. In Washington, Mayor Muriel Bowser has painted a Black Lives Matter mural on streets near the White House and rechristened an intersection as Black Lives Matter Plaza. So the Washington mayor, Washington DC, you have the White House in Washington DC. The mayor of that particular city is Muriel Bowser. She has made a mural for Black Lives Matter and she has named a plaza as Black Lives Matter Plaza. But people have criticized her, saying that activists have been critical of the mayor's proposed cuts to programs like Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and noting she has proposed budget increases to the police department. So she has actually come out in support of Black Lives Matter, but she has also received criticism for two specific things that she has done. One is to cut the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, and the other is the proposed budget increases in the police department. These are the places where she has received criticism also. Okay. Okay, fine. Okay, chalo. So let's go to the question. Which of the following options would be consistent with the opinions of Patrice Cullors? So what did Patrice Cullors really say? She said that we are ready for a defunding framework. She mentions that we have to chip away at the line items inside the police budget that are really nonsensical. So police should not be in charge of mental health crisis. So this should be handled by who? According to her, healthcare professionals. So if somebody is having a mental health breakdown, the police should not be handling that. The health professionals should be handling that. She says that they should not be in charge of dealing with homelessness. So if there are homeless people, police should not be called on the homeless people. There should be other methods of addressing homelessness. They should be not in charge of supporting people with drug dependency and addiction. So if there is somebody who is a drug addict, the police should not be called on it. They should get healthcare support to beat the addiction as such. So she is basically saying that there are many areas where police have the budget and police are given the responsibility, and she feels they should not have that responsibility. It should instead be given to healthcare. . So let's take a look at the options. People across the country agree that the police force should be disbanded. Disbanded means that you remove the police. Is anybody saying remove the police? So the whole point of defund the police is not remove the police or disband the police. It is trying to cut the police budget. They are saying that the police budget has become too much. It is like a disproportionate part of the city's budget or the state's budget. It should not be like that. So they are not calling for disbanding. One word distortion. Extreme suggestion. Easy to eliminate. The police force should be held to a higher degree of scrutiny as they have far too much money and responsibilities invested in them. See, what is she saying? They should not have money invested in them. They should not have these responsibilities. She is not saying that, okay, give them the money and give them the responsibilities, but hold them to a higher standard. She is saying that why give them this money? Why give them this responsibility? Take that responsibility away, take the money away, let somebody else do it. So this is not at all what she is saying. She will disagree with this. So B is incorrect. The police budget has been inflated by the inclusion of responsibilities that the police force is not fit to do. This is exactly the problem, that she is saying that you have essentially spent a lot of money, you need to defund the money. The budget includes line items for doing things that the police should not be responsible to do. So she is saying that cut the budget, remove these responsibilities. So the police force is not fit to do many things, including handle mental health crisis, de-addiction, homelessness, and those items should be cut from the police budget. So I'd say she would definitely agree with this particular statement. The US spends more on policing instead of healthcare, and there is an urgent need to correct the imbalance by reassigning responsibilities from police to healthcare professionals. See, over here I'll tell you what has happened. If anybody made a mistake over here, I'll tell you why you would make a mistake. You need to correct this imbalance by reassigning responsibilities from police to healthcare professionals. Reassigning of responsibilities from police to healthcare professionals, she would agree with. But this part over here is wrong. What part over here is wrong? The US spends more on policing than on healthcare. Is that true? Is that true that we spend more on policing than on healthcare? How much they spend on healthcare is not given at all. They are just saying that you spend too much on policing. But no, there is no way you can tell that it is actually they are spending more on policing than healthcare. So because of this distortion, this is not there in the passage that they spend more on policing than on healthcare. They are just saying that they spend too much on policing. But too much does not mean that they spend more on that than on healthcare. So this is also incorrect. C is the right answer. Anybody who selected D option, know that you fell for a distortion, you fell for a trap. You should not be falling for those traps. Okay? Not fit to do. No, it is not extreme. Look at her tone. Look at Patrice Couleur's tone as such. She is like super critical of the police. She is saying that they should not be in charge of dealing with homelessness. They should not be in charge of supporting people with drug dependency. What is she alleging? She is alleging that they are actually just beating the drug addicts, or they are not helping them in any way. They are just putting them in jail. So she is very critical clearly. So basically this is not at all, if you look at her tone, the option is in line with the tone. Many times you have to be very careful with either two negative or two positive options. But if the original passage is negative towards the police, original speaker is negative towards the police, then it is fitting. So in this case, she is actually very negative to the police when she says they are supporting people with drug addiction. In quotes, she is basically being very critical of them. She is like mocking them, right? So then it is fitting. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay. Anybody have any of this? Not fit to do is not extreme. Option B is wrong, ma'am. It mentions more allocation of money and responsibilities to the police. Yes, it is not mentioning more allocation. It's saying that, okay, if you give them more money and more responsibilities, they should be held to a higher standard. But Patrice Couleur's is saying that don't give them money, don't give them the responsibilities. She is against giving them certain responsibilities because she doesn't think that they should have that responsibility. She thinks that healthcare should be the one doing that. So that is basically the point. Okay. No, it is implied. They are not fit to you. Yatharth is saying that nowhere is suggests that they are not fit to do. It is implied. When she says supporting drug addicts, what is she implying? That they are not really supporting them. That they are not really doing that. They are not really helping the homeless. They are not really helping those who are in mental health crisis. She is essentially saying that they are not doing that job. So they should not be doing it, not because of some reason, that she's not saying that they should not be doing it because they are like overtired or they are like overwhelmed. She is using that in charge of supporting. She is clearly saying that they are not helping. what they are doing is not helping. So it's essentially she's implying that they should not be given that responsibility because they don't do that responsibility properly. Okay. 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 Next question. Okay. All those guys, one more thing that I would like to remind all those guys who are watching the stream, please like the stream because I know that it helps us quite a bit in reaching more students. I know that a lot of students are like super focused right now on their preparation, and this stream will definitely help them. So please like the stream, it helps us quite a bit and it motivates us to hold more of these sessions. So let's go to the second one. I know a lot of people are going to be like, I will not agree with this, 2 is implied, etc. So let's take a look at the question. Which of the following statements can be inferred from the 4th paragraph of the passage? Mayor Muriel Bowser commissioned a mural on the streets near the White House as a response to the critical response to her proposed cuts to programs like Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. See, if you take a look at that paragraph properly, what is mentioned? She did these 2 things. Muriel Bowser did those 2 things. Activists have been critical for the proposed cuts to the program. So let us just write down what is given. Muriel Bowser did 2 things. Activists criticize Muriel Bowser for 2 other things. When you have a clear-cut paragraph like this, what you cannot really say is that 2 is because of 1 or 1 is because of 2. You cannot say this because it is not given as a causality. Just because they are there together, it doesn't mean that 1 is because of 2 or 2 is because of 1. So you cannot say that Muriel Bowser did those things because our activists were criticizing her. We do not know what was the timeline and whether there was a cause effect, we cannot really say. So 1 is clearly wrong for introducing a cause effect when there is no cause effect in the actual paragraph. In the actual paragraph, 2 things are stated. That she did those 2 things, activists are criticizing her for 2 other things. Did she do all those things because activists are criticizing her? We can't really say at all. Cause effect is not implied. Second one is activists have been critical of the mayor's alleged hypocrisy of naming an intersection as Black Lives Matter Plaza while also increasing funding to the police department. See, generally when we have a paragraph like that, we have a tendency to put 1 and 1 together and say that okay, it is 2. But these 2 things are just there at the same time. The fact that they are occurring at the same time in the same paragraph does not mean that there is a cause-effect relationship. So activists criticizing her might have nothing to do with the fact that she made the mural, might have nothing to do with the fact that she made the plaza, renamed the plaza. So to say this is a cause-effect, okay, that this is the cause and this is the effect, or they are calling her hypocritical. You are trying to establish a cause-effect relationship where there is no cause-effect relationship. The first one is one way, that 1 was caused by 2. The second statement is the other way, 2 was caused by 1. Both of these are not related. They are just occurring at the same time. They are not cause-effect. So this also cannot really be inferred. Mayor Muriel Bowser painted the mural near the White House in response to the national uprising against police brutality. So she painted the mural when? She painted the mural after all of this national uprising occurred. So the entire passage says that, but amid a national police brutality and systematic racism, activists say it's time to reimagine what the public actually needs. And everything after that has been in the context of this occurring. This is the context. And then we have at the activist level what people are saying. At the mayoral layer level what people are doing. At the city level what people are doing. So everything else after that is in that context, is in a way a response, a movement against that context, is a response to what has happened. So the city council, why did they do this? This is in response to the national uprising against the police brutality. Why is she saying this, Patrice Cullors? Why is she saying it? Because of the police brutality, the national uprising against police brutality. Everything that has happened is in response to the national uprising against police brutality. So this is something that can be inferred because this too, everything is in this context. It is implied by the structure of the passage. That is basically why it can be inferred. 1 and 2 are a false cause-effect relationship. It is not implicit. 3 is implicit by the structure of the passage. I know a lot of people will be like, okay, why is this implied? What is not? Why is that not implied? But you have to always remember, be conservative in what is implied. Be conservative in whether it can realistically be implied or not. And in general, when you are not sure, can you argue the other way around? Can you really say that Muriel Bowser did that without any reason? She would not have a Black Lives Matter plaza without a Black Lives Matter movement. So clearly her behavior is in response to what happened. The Black Lives Matter will not occur without the national uprising. So you cannot really refute that logic. You cannot argue against that logic. But about calling her hypocritical, we can always argue that activists actually laud her to actions, but say that, you know what she did was not right. On these 2 things she was wrong, but on these 2 things she was right. So them calling her hypocritical, I can argue that that might not be true as such. But her doing this in response to the Black Lives Matter movement and the national uprising, it is irrefutable. So because it is irrefutable, only 3 is correct. Okay, I hope it is clear. Can we have, okay, what is hypocrisy is mentioned, then can we make a link between the 2 points? If hypocrisy is mentioned, then can we, no, hypocrisy mentions that, okay, she did that as a like because critics blasted her, she made that plaza. Or critics blasted her saying that you make the plaza, you're just like doing show, but in actual policy you're doing the opposite things. Again, you can't really make that jump, because those 2 things being together, you can't really say that, okay, this is cause and effect. That combination cannot be done. And in general, whenever like 2 items are given together, this cause effect relationship is a common distortion. I put it, many of the paper setters put it, the CAT has a history of putting it. So I want you to be very, very diligent about the cause effect relationship. It is always a 99% of the time it is a distortion. Very few times does the actual passage actually mention a cause effect relationship. Okay. Okay. The Black Lives Matter movement is a response to the police brutality. So basically the police brutality, there was a national uprising, and basically you have the Black Lives Matter movement, which is at the activist level. The Black Lives Matter mural is a response to the like the movement that has taken place as a like because of the police brutality you have the movement. So if you didn't have the police brutality, you wouldn't have the movement. If without the movement, you wouldn't have the name of the movement, Black Lives Matter. Without that name, she couldn't have named it as the Black Lives Matter Plaza. Okay. So let's take a look at the next next question. This is a doable moderate level set. Only the second question was difficult, but otherwise it's a fairly doable set. Okay. Democrats are, Braxton Winston says there's always been political ability to. So what does he mean? What does he say over here? So basically, let's take a look at it. Has introduced a motion that would prohibit money from being spent on chemical agents to disperse crowds and protesters, while creating a police oversight committee made up of city council and city manager to review the department spending. There's always been political ability to make these changes. That is the changes that he has tried to make. It just seems that we may be in a moment where people that are in positions like mine are finally getting the political will. So what is he saying? That politicians have always been able to make these changes. Now, for the first time, we might be in a place and a point of time where the politicians finally are saying that no, this should be done. It could always be done. It can be done. But now for the first time, politicians are saying it should be done. This is the first time, point of time when people are saying that it should be done. So that is what he is saying. They had the ability, but now they have the will. They are starting to get the will to do it. Okay. So let's take a look at the options. Indicate that politicians are finally considering using the power they always had to reform the police system. Anybody has this with the last one? Just let me know, otherwise I'll move on. Okay, so basically what is this? Indicate that politicians are finally considering using the power they always had to reform the police system. Is this the case? They always had the power? Yes. They are finally considering using it? Yes. Can and should. So this is the correct answer. Acknowledge that politicians did not make changes to the existing policing system as they did not have public support for the same. This public support, where does this come from? Does Braxton Winston say that finally they have the public support to do it? No, he says political will. Is political will the same as public support? No. So this public support is a distortion. It is not there in the original passage. It is not there in that paragraph. So when you see a new term come in, that okay, we need public support to do it. They didn't need public support. They needed political will. And now they have the political will to do it. So this is incorrect. Indicate that while the politicians have the ability to change the policing system, very few have any inclination to do so. This part is correct. This part, very few have any inclination to do so. Is it true now? Very few had the inclination to do so. But now many have inclination to do so. At least some have the inclination to do so. So very few have. Present tense is wrong. In the present, people have the inclination to do so. So because of this distortion, again C is incorrect. Indicate that policies to defund certain police actions like the use of chemical agents to disperse crowds now has widespread political support. Where did this come from? Widespread political support. When you hear words like this only, you should get antenna should start working. Widespread, where did this come from? So there only you can say that this is incorrect. A is the right answer. The last question, okay. All of the following are steps mentioned in the passage to curb police brutality except. Whenever something is mentioned like this, read the option, go back and check the answer. Check the actual passage that the wording is matching or not. Creating committees to regulate the spending of police department. Anywhere where committee to see the police department spending, create police oversight committee made up of city council and city manager to review the department spending. There, it is given there. So this is eliminated. Funding community-based interveners and problem solvers to partner with local peace officers. Local peace officers, where is this, where is this, where is this? Yeah, community-based interveners and problem solvers that can partner with local police officers. Local peace officers, not police officers. This is also given, so B can be inferred. Creating a national registry to track police misconduct. Let's take a look at where it is, aimed at transparency. Caucus suggested funding this. Over here, where would that police national registry would be at a national level. So bill tackling racism, among the proposal include draft banning chokeholds, tracking police misconduct with a national registry. So also there at national level, done. Proposing budget cuts to police programs like Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement. Till here it is correct. Budget cuts to police programs. Like the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, that was actually not part of the police budget. Okay. So that was not part of the police budget at all. Office of Neighborhood Safety is not part of the police. So this is not given in the passage. So D is the right answer. Okay. If anybody has any question, just let me know. Okay. So anybody has any questions about this? Chose all the this. Let's see if ma'am, would you in exam also prefer the para again and again for questions like you are doing now? Yes. For specific questions, you have to go back because it is very easy to introduce one word distortion. That's why when a specific question is asked, you always go back and check because those one word distortions can make like an entire option wrong. So you have to be very careful when specific information is asked, go and check it. Don't say that I'll just check this. Only for specific questions you should go back, otherwise you should not go back. So of the 4 questions, I did it for only one of them. When specific information is asked, only then go back. Okay. Let's go to the next one, which is philosophical RCs. I know many of you hate philosophical RCs. Maybe there's a reason for that, but I know the common reason for it. It is dense and difficult to read. So what should you do when it is dense and difficult to read? If an RC is dense and difficult to read, what should you do? Basically, whatever you understand, just go with that. If you don't understand, ignore. In a passage, if there are like say 30 lines, I don't understand one line. What should I do? Should I say that I didn't understand the passage because I didn't understand this one line? No, I understood the remaining 19 lines. My understanding of the passage would be mostly right. Even if this one line I don't understand, that's fine. I understood the passage, I didn't understand this one line. So mentally what I do is I just edit out the one line. You know that in many passages you see these ellipses, right? I say that let us say that this particular line was omitted. It would not change the meaning of the passage at all, right? So I'll just say that I'll just omit this line from the passage. I don't consider it. I just move on. That is basically what you have to do. Be ruthless. If you don't understand a particular argument, ignore it. The broader meaning of the passage or the paragraph does not change with one line, one argument, one phrase, nothing of that sort. There are many parts of a philosophical RC that even I don't understand, that go over my head, but I ignore them because they are not central to understanding the passage. Most of the time what the author will say is, he'll make one comment, okay, he'll say that, okay, the argument is this, argument A. He'll say this is the reason, and he'll give 1, 2, 3 reasons, A, B, C, or whatever some reasons that he'll give. Suppose I don't understand the third reason why that argument A is the case. What I'll say is that, okay, he's making this argument and he's giving 3 reasons. I don't understand all 3 reasons, but he's making this argument. So that is all that I need to really think about. Okay. So with this, I'll post the philosophical RC. Any part that you don't understand, just ignore it. Write down the main point of the parts that you understand, and then try to answer the questions, and tell me then later how you actually did in the RC. I'll tell you that if you ignore the ununderstandable parts, I know that you will be able to still solve the RC. Okay, so let's try to solve this. It's boring as well. Yes, Tanya, I know it's boring as well. So that is also there. Yeah, Jane Witt is saying, I find them interesting. So many people find philosophy very interesting. Some people find philosophy very boring. I personally found this one interesting because I tried to understand like the thinking of people. This is in a philosophical and a historical context. So I want to like know how people felt at a particular point of time, what they were thinking. So this is from around the time of the World War. So I always think that, okay, what did the people who actually think about the start of the World War, what were they thinking, what were they feeling? So this is interesting to me, but sometimes philosophy can be very dry and boring. See, the point is that whatever is whether it is dry or boring or whether it is interesting, for the purpose of the like your CAT score, you should take like a avid interest in it. You should be like, this is the most interesting thing ever. Feign an interest and do well in the like the CAT. That's all that matters. So somebody was asking how to cross the barrier of 40 marks in RC. I think that's a very good score that you have. Thank you. Okay, so somebody is asking how to cross the barrier of 40 marks in VRC. Basically, what I would suggest is that if you're reaching VRC on the basis of RC, then focus on certain parts of VA. You should have a very good hold of what VAs you are good at. I know from practice that I am good at Parasummary. I'm good at para insertion. Generally, para insertion, I feel that I have an instinct for it. Para jumbles, I feel I have the worst instinct for para jumbles. So basically, you have to practice a lot in those areas where you're not doing well, but also your attempt strategy should also be like completely leaning towards your strengths as such. How should I analyze after mocks, VRC after mocks? Basically, Aditya, what I would say is that reread the passage. Sometimes people like after you read the passage without like the pressure of the like exam, your understanding of the passage might be much better. Then you go to the questions, and then if you see the questions, and then go and see the marking of the question. If you have a different understanding and you mark the wrong answer because your early understanding was not right, what you should then say that, okay, maybe my understanding of the passage is not right. Maybe in these kind of passages, I should slow down a bit. or if you were your understanding of the passage was right, but you marked the wrong option because you didn't see all the options properly, or in the option you didn't read through the option properly. Then you say that, okay, in these kind of options, I should spend more time on the options. Your analysis should be basically figuring out what went wrong and where you need to focus on in the next mock attempt. So basically, the errors occur either in the passage understanding or the option understanding. You need to keep a tally, okay, is it passage understanding that was the issue or option understanding that was the issue? That tally will help you, like in every mock, okay, say that I made like 5 mistakes in VARC, in RC, 3 of these were passage understanding, 2 of these were option understanding. You will get an understanding of where you tend to make a mistake. Then you can basically change the time allocated accordingly. If you're making a lot of mistakes, then you can say that, okay, I'm making a lot of mistakes, maybe I should slow down a bit. Instead of doing 4 RCs, I should do 3 RCs, but my accuracy should be better. That is basically the kind of tweaking that might be required based on the analysis that you're there. But just keep a track of, was it option understanding or passage understanding that was wrong. In VARC, in the VA part, essentially parasummary, again take a look at the paragraph. Is your understanding different or is your understanding better? So same way you can say the paragraph understanding or option understanding. So this way you can keep a track of where the error is creeping in. Okay. Thank you so much. So my VA accuracy is terrible. I'm planning to attend 4 RCs at first. Is it a good idea? Yes, Wiley. That's what I also do. My RC accuracy is much better than VA. I do the 4 RCs first, then I do the VA. The only reason you might go to the VA is if you need a break. Many people treat VAs as a break from the monotony of reading RCs. If you don't need the break, you can do all 4 RCs first and then only go to VA. But we understand only one line, remaining lines we can't. Okay, if you understand only one line and you don't understand the entire paragraph and only understand one line of the paragraph, then maybe you shouldn't attempt that passage as such. You're likely to make a huge mistake there. See, in general, what happens in these kind of passages is that the author gives one clear message, okay, this is what I think. Then he gives 4 or 5 reasons, okay. Sometimes the reasons are not clear. They can be very technical. They can be very jargon, like have a lot of jargon. They can be a lot of like research oriented, or this research says that this is more likely, or this says that this is going to happen. Many times I might not understand nitty-gritties of that part or that evidence as such, but I know that all of this evidence is supporting the claim that the author has made at the start of the passage. Then I say, okay, like let's see, this is just something which is given as the support to the argument. At least I understand the argument. I might not understand each of the supporting line items, but I understand the argument. Then I can try to answer the question. But if the main argument, like the main conclusion of what he is trying to say is not understood, then even if you understand like the supporting details, it won't be enough. That's the basic thing. The key part, the main point of the paragraph should be understood. If the details are not understood, even that is okay, but the main part should be understood. Drinking coffee while doing RC will improve my accuracy. I'm not drinking coffee, I'm drinking hot water for like my throat because it is getting affected. I'm doing back-to-back streams, so because of that it is affecting my throat. But you won't have the option of doing it in an actual CAT, right? So from now on, in general, not just for what Bharat said, but in general, what you should try to do is mimic as much as possible what you're going to go through on actual CAT day. So if you have a morning slot, start taking all your mocks from 8:30 to that morning slot as such. If you have the evening slot, always take your mocks from 4:30 to 6:30. You should take it at the exact same time as your actual CAT is. See, we have all our body clocks, okay? There are times in the day when we are at our brightest, most freshest as such. There are times in the day when we are sluggy, where we are very sluggish, our brain is not working. I remember I had one slot too, and I had a lunch just before going in, and I was super sleepy. Firstly, I'm not very motivated because I'm giving it for the sake of understanding the pattern, understanding the feel of the exam. So I don't really think about it that much that, okay, I have to really crack this and all. But I just basically feel that point of time when I had gone in after eating a lunch, I felt I was like not at all able to focus, because we have this whole body clock, right? In the morning, I am generally at my freshest most where I'm able to do things. After lunch, I'm slightly dull. Again, in the evening around 5:30, I get like a second energy again. So I also thought that maybe I should have bothered to adjust my body clock according to the time slot that I had, so that I would have at least some burst of energy, some burst of enthusiasm before the particular mock. It is very important that you have energy to solve it. This is like a marathon, okay? 2 hours like jog, you will be like burning 1,000 calories in this particular mock. So you should have the energy to do that. So try to change your body clock to fit the body clock, or like the time slot that you're going to actually give CAT in. So try to mimic everything of the actual CAT. The time at which you take it, how the feeling is. Before CAT, you are actually going to be sitting in your place for half an hour, doing nothing. Just like you sit because you like come 1 hour early, you come in, by the time you are checked in, you are sitting at your place for half an hour doing nothing. So that also creates this whole thing where you are like slightly bored and slightly tired, and then you start the mock. So I would say that before every mock, just spend 15 minutes doing nothing. So that also puts you in this like zone where you are more focused to do what has to be done, and it will also prepare you for the actual D-Day. So nerves will not play as much of a role there. Will you do one more live VRC solving? So we'll try to do more VRC sessions as such. We'll try to do them, but this I want to revise. So I might not do revision, but I'll do more of solving of questions. Okay. So let's see how people have done. I think this was not a very difficult RC. I don't know, maybe I thought it was difficult. Very easy actually. Many people have done. Third question again, some people have found it difficult. But third and fourth people struggled. But at least I'm very happy that first two people have done. So this is something it's not difficult. No, this is not a difficult RC. People generally say that philosophical RCs I can't do at all. But this was not a difficult RC at all, right? This people have done better than the first RC. So good to see that. So Piyush is asking, ma'am, what should we try to focus on in reading the RC? The main point or the larger picture? When you're reading the paragraph, just focus on the paragraph. You write down the main points of each paragraph, then take a look at the bigger picture. Because when you look at the message, right, when you remove all the details, when you just focus on the message and then you take a look at the 5 main points that you have written, then our larger main point becomes very clear. It becomes very clear what the author is trying to do through the passage. Because sometimes the author will straight go to the point. Sometimes the author will go to the point like this. But if you just write down the main points, his overall motivations become clear. So that is what you should do. At the time of reading the paragraph, just look at the paragraph. Otherwise, look at the, after reading all those main points, then look at the overall larger picture. So let's get started. In November 1914, Bernard Bosanquet delivered the inaugural address to the Aristotelian Society's 36th session. An aging titan of British idealism, Bosanquet called his talk Science and Philosophy. It was a broadside on Bertrand Russell's now legendary book, Our Knowledge of the External World, in which Russell sought to model a new scientific method for doing philosophy that made the logical analysis of propositions fundamental. This logic-centric style would come to define what we know as analytic philosophy. So what is basically mentioned over here, Bosanquet was a titan. Titan means somebody who is like a very well-respected person in British idealism. Idealism is a form of philosophy. He was a very respected philosopher of British idealism, and he delivered a broadside. What is a broadside? If you know what it means, fine. If you don't know what it means, just read the next paragraph. You will understand what it means. A broadside is a talk or any kind of a verbal attack on either a verbal or a written attack on somebody else. So if I want to really rebuke somebody, if I want to like take them to like task, I will issue a broadside. So this is basically a verbal or written attack. Even if you did not know that from the first paragraph, you just read the second paragraph. What did he do? He was criticizing. So then you can understand that this broadside, even if it's like you don't understand this, you can understand that Bosanquet was just criticizing Russell. He was criticizing the book that Russell had written. In his book, what had he written? He had made the case for logical analysis of propositions fundamental, meaning that when you are actually making any kind of a philosophical claim or a philosophical proposition, what should you do? You should do logical analysis. He called it science. You should be scientific in philosophy. You should be logical in philosophy. And Bosanquet criticized the logic-centric style of Russell. And this logic-centric style would come to define what we know as analytic philosophy. So that logic-centric style was not just a small phenomenon. It actually became very big in philosophy later, and it became like a form of philosophy known as analytic philosophy. But Bosanquet was against Russell's logic-centric style. So why was he against logic-centric style? So let's take a look at the second paragraph. Bosanquet's opening complaint about Russell's methodology was surprisingly political. So his first criticism of why this logic-centric style is bad is that he gave a political reason. He argued that the scientific methodology would inevitably make philosophy cosmopolitan in character and free from special national qualities. Since logic and science more generally respects no political or cultural boundaries, Russell's philosophy could never function as a distinctive expression of people. So what was his criticism? That if you focus only on logic, your philosophy will lose any national character. So nationalism or your country's love is an emotional quality, right? It's a subjective quality. If you are like only objective things should be considered, what will happen? You will remove all those nationalistic emotions from philosophy. And for Bosanquet, he felt that this will be cosmopolitan is another way of saying that it will be internationalism. Internationalism means that, okay, you don't care what country it belongs to. Something has to be universally true. So it can't be that, okay, you have a British feeling or a German feeling. A feeling is true if it is logically true, otherwise it is false. So that is basically, Bosanquet said that this cosmopolitan character is not good. You will be removing all national characteristics from philosophy as such. Logic and science is international in nature. There is nothing which is national flavor to logic and science. So Russell's philosophy could never function as a distinctive expression of people. So nobody would become like, if you have Russell's philosophy, you would not really achieve the national characteristics that are required. This was a problem for Bosanquet. He held that philosophy, being like language, art and poetry, a product of the whole man, is a thing which would forfeit some of its essences if it were to lose its national quality. British idealism for Britons, German idealism for Germans. So Bosanquet said ki no, this cosmopolitan nature is not good. Our philosophy should have national flavor. So our philosophy, British philosophy, should be ideal for the Britons, German philosophy for Germans. Philosophy is like art, like language. It should be specific to the nation as such. So he was against the cosmopolitan nature of Russell's philosophy. He was against philosophy losing national characteristic. So why should you have national characteristics? So basically this person feels, Bosanquet feels, that every philosophy should essentially imbue some amount of nationalism in it. It should have national flavor. The cosmopolitanism that Bosanquet thought implicit in Russell's philosophical methodology was no illusion. So he was so Bosanquet was not wrong. Russell's philosophy is definitely cosmopolitan. It is definitely not national. It is that feeling he is trying to remove nationalism is not an illusion. It was the truth. Russell's philosophy was removing nationalism. 2 weeks before Bosanquet's attack at the society, Russell had delivered a lecture at Oxford that would be published under the title On Scientific Method in Philosophy. Today it is remembered as a call to arms for logical analysis, and it largely restated in a more pointed way the methodological outlook of our knowledge. Russell's essay is not overtly political, and yet privately Russell told one colleague that the talk was partly inspired by disgust at the universal outburst of righteousness in all nations since the war began. It seems the essence of virtue is persecution, and it has given me a disgust of all ethical notions which are chiefly useful as an excuse for murder. To another colleague, he described the lecture as inspired by bloodthirstiness of professors here and in Germany. I gave it at Oxford and it produced all the disgust I had hoped. So what is being said? A lot of things are being said. Might have gone over, some parts would have definitely gone over your head. So let's actually break down. Let's understand it clearly what is being said. So what was this? So Bosanquet said that you are trying to remove nationalism from philosophy, and he was against it. And he was not wrong. Russell was trying to remove nationalism from philosophy. He said that our philosophy should be purely scientific and logical. No call to emotion should be there. And while he gave a lecture at Oxford, which was saying that our philosophy should be purely scientific, purely objective, purely logical as such. And he kept his lecture apolitical. He didn't say anything about politics in it, but it was inspired by the political events what was taking place. So it was at the time what had happened. It was since the war began. So basically what was happening, the Great War it is given here, but basically a war was taking place between Germany and Britain, and basically Russell was very privately pained by what was happening. So many of the philosophers both in Germany and Britain were openly professing murder, saying that okay, we are right, we are the good guys, we have every right to go and murder this way. So British guys were saying that, the German guys were saying that. So Russell was very angry with that. So basically he was saying that all this philosophy is being manufactured to explain or excuse murder, to explain or to essentially explain why it would be right to go and kill the other soldier. And Russell was very disgusted by it. He felt that any of these philosophies or that these guys are saying are just excuse for murder. They are just using that to explain what they are doing, and he felt what they were doing was wrong. So he said, you know what, no philosophy should be based on any kind of subjective righteousness or a belief of persecution or that we are the right guys. Every philosophy should be just scientific, logical, because he felt all those subjective philosophies are this ethical philosophies are a excuse for the worst behavior. So he feels that all such ethical philosophies should be removed. Only the logical scientific philosophy should be pursued. So here if you see that this is actually Russell philosophy inspired by political events. He wanted to remove any subjective philosophies because he saw that as a explanation, or he saw that they were actually just causing a bloodthirstiness between the two nations. So he was actively trying to remove it. The political anxieties at play begin to make sense when one bears in mind the timing of all of this. Bosanquet's attack was delivered amid the earthquake that was Britain's entry into the Great War. This was at the start of the Great War, and Bosanquet was saying, yeah, no, we should be nationalistic in character. We should be like Britain good, Germany bad. And Russell was opposite of that. He said ki both of you guys are using philosophy to defend your actions, but the actions are indefensible. Philosophy should not be like this. The quake didn't just shake soldiers on the battlefield, it also shook intellectuals and would permanently change the direction of abstract pursuits that might seem highly remote to the concerns of warfare, like epistemology and metaphysics. For Russell, a crucial spark of the violence was nationalism, and he regarded scientific philosophy as a tool for opposing it. So basically the author said that this was in the context of the start of the First World War, which they used to call Great War. So he felt at that time, Bosanquet spoke at that time that nationalism is required, and basically what was happening on the battlefield was not only affecting the soldiers, it was affecting the philosophers also. The philosophers were also getting worked up. Their philosophy was changing to essentially in response to the war, and Russell basically felt that this violence had started because of this feeling of nationalism, and he felt that we should remove this nationalism from philosophy, and he felt that the way to do that is scientific philosophy. Scientific philosophy is a tool for opposing nationalism. This part is the crucial part, that the context was of the Great War, and Russell was inspired to do the scientific philosophy as a way to oppose nationalism. Now take a look at the whole passage. Bosanquet criticized Russell, saying that his philosophy is too logical and scientific. He didn't like it. He said that this philosophy is very international in nature. He's trying to remove the national character from philosophy, and Bosanquet said that that is wrong. But Bosanquet's criticism or identification of what Russell was trying to do was not wrong. Russell was trying to remove national character from philosophy. And why was he trying to do that? He was trying to do that because he felt that this nationalism in philosophy was responsible for the war. It was responsible for the violence. He believed the subjectivity in philosophy gives you an excuse to go and kill people. So he wanted to remove all this subjectivity. He said that only rational logic and scientific logic should be there in philosophy, nothing else. Because he felt that these kind of ethical philosophies are the slippery slope under which people are using these kind of ethical philosophies to claim righteousness, that we are the right guys and therefore we have to go and kill. So he is basically against this national character, this nationalism, and that's why he basically wrote a scientific philosophy as such. Okay, we understand. In anybody who didn't understand any part, they want me to explain any part as such? Okay. Chose a wrong answer just because I didn't understand the meaning of the word in the options. How should we tackle this situation? Again, I would say, Sanya, in such cases, look at the 3 options. If you are at a situation where you are not able to understand, like if you are eliminating all 4 options, then you can choose the option where you didn't understand a word. But if you chose the wrong option, you should first look at why did you choose the wrong option, because every option is wrong for a reason. Okay, so that distortion is the first test. The way at arriving at the option is twofold. What should be there and what should not be there. I generally consider option elimination to be a far better way of arriving at the answer, because I can spot mistakes far better than I can spot the right answer. Okay, so always say that, okay, if this path was wrong, then why did this path not get you to the right answer? Okay. I'm doing RC, but while coming to the last paragraph, I'm getting exhausted. What to do? Chanukya, you need practice. You need a lot of practice. See, basically RC, VRC is the first section. Then you have LRDI. Then you have quant. By quant, you will be completely exhausted. So get into the practice of solving a lot of mocks. It is very, very important that you guys build up the stamina. 2 hours, and 2 hours is like very, very physically exhausting also. So keep taking a lot of mocks. Then you will build the stamina. Then you will build the ability. Otherwise, everybody will get tired after some time. Okay. So let's take a look at the questions that were there. Any other? So Mehul is asking, I was scoring above 40 in VRC, but over the last 2 weeks, I have taken a sudden dip to 15-25. So what is the possible reason? I would say, Mehul, that you are overthinking. This is something that I made a video on, which is like the valley of underconfidence. So what happens is that when you start off, you basically trust your gut. When you don't know a lot of things about traps, distortions, you just go by what seems like right or looks right. Then you start learning about traps, distortions. Then you look for distortions everywhere. Everything looks like a trap. Then you essentially lose like track of what is like instinctively right. Then after some time you realize that, okay, I should try to see that what should be there. If the option has what I'm looking for, and then I should look at, okay, why X, Y, Z is not true, then look for distortions. If you look for distortions in every option, you will find them. Nobody can make 100% correct option, but that should not be the site. There should be like big distortions, small distortions. You should not eliminate options based on small distortions. Okay, so let us go to the questions. Okay. So Bosanquet felt Russell's methodology what would he say? He would, it's a cosmopolitan philosophy that is removing the national character from study of philosophy. So vitiate the cosmopolitan character of philosophy. No, he did not want a cosmopolitan character. He wanted a national character. Cosmopolitan character basically means like a urban character. Urban is out of the molds of cosmopolitan means that you are not very like if you are cosmopolitan, you are not very Indian. Same way this guy felt that if you are cosmopolitan, you are not very British. So he did not want a cosmopolitan character. So this is incorrect. Weaken Britain's sense of nationalism at the start of the Great War. It would not weaken the sense of nationalism. His criticism was about the character of philosophy. God alone knows how many people read this philosophy to like exaggerate that this will change the course of the war and British people will get swayed by it would be a gross exaggeration. This is philosophy. The changes or the effect would be on philosophy, not on British people as a whole. This would be a gross exaggeration. British sense of nationalism is of what the public thinks. This is the small track of the academia and the intelligentsia, and specifically only philosophy in that. So it will impact philosophy. It won't impact the normal British guy as such. Deprive philosophy of its nationalistic dimension. This is exactly the problem. He felt that this guy is trying to remove national character from philosophy. Mitigate the sense of nationalism in people. B and D are too broad. It has, what Russell was trying to do was limited to philosophy. Its second order effects might be on people as such, but B and D as a problem what Bosanquet had would be too wild for what Bosanquet was actually saying. He was saying that you are trying to remove national character from philosophy. So C is the right answer. Okay, anybody? Okay, it shows D in this. Sense of nationalism in, not people, philosophy. Sense of nationalism in philosophy. Read that part again if you want. That the problem was philosophy would never function as a distinctive expression of people, since he argued that scientific methodology would inevitably make philosophy cosmopolitan in character and special from national qualities, not people. Philosophy cosmopolitan in character, not people. So you have to be very careful of what he is saying. Okay, let's take a look at the second question. Which of the following is Bernard Bosanquet most likely to agree with? I think this was a very easy question. I think most of you got this right? Scientific study of wartime jingoism. So he is not going to make a scientific study of anything. He is in fact fairly against scientific studies. He wants a study which is subjective in nature, distinctive expression of people's feelings, right? So scientific study is not something that he would agree with. So A is incorrect. A movie showing the significance of universal brotherhood. Universal brotherhood is also something he would not agree with. He doesn't like this cosmopolitan nature that everybody is equal, there is no nationalistic dimension. He feels that Britons for British idealism for Britons. So that guy is not really a guy who believes in universal brotherhood. B also can be eliminated. A poem emphasizing a feeling of national pride and loyalty to motherland. He is a defender of nationalism. This is something that he would definitely agree with. A pamphlet criticizing the barbaric regime of a monarch. Which monarch is there? Which pamphlet is there? This is like so completely out of scope of the passage. I hope all of you eliminated this, because where is this even connected with monarchy and all? His entire feelings were about cosmopolitan nature of scientific study, about the need for nationalism in philosophy, nationalistic character in philosophy. So all that he has said was about that. So this idea of monarchy, not at all related to the passage, we can eliminate it. Okay. Any issue with the questions that we have discussed till now? Okay. How many RCs to solve in the last 15 days to increase the score from 10 to 15 to 30? I would say, Kritika, try to focus on doing 2-3 every single day. Keep your practice in the last few days balanced. Don't just focus only on RCs. Keep practicing quant also, LRDI also. So 3 RCs should be enough if you are able to do also LR sets, 2 LRDI sets, and also 20-30 questions from quant. The last few days you should have a very balanced practice. A balanced practice can come from doing this, or you can also give mocks. Mocks is also a very good way where you will essentially be able to put a proper balanced practice as such. Okay. Third question is, based on the passage, Bertrand Russell views scientific philosophy as, so what does he say? A tool to effectuate the violence of nationalism. It is a tool against the violence of nationalism. I think this is where people actually struggled. They didn't understand the meaning of the word effectuate, but you know effect, right? So if you are not able to understand the word effectuate, what is it likely to mean? Okay, if I don't understand the whole word effectuate, at least I know that it is something that has to be connected to effect as such. Again, even if you didn't understand that, let it be. Maybe I am not sure whether it is against or for, I can't say. Let it be. I will not eliminate option A. An antidote to nationalism. Antidote means what? Antidote, you have a antidote to venom, right? Snake bite. It is basically a cure for nationalism, and this is definitely right, because he is looking it as a tool for opposing scientific philosophy as a cure or a tool for opposing nationalism. So you would definitely agree with this one. Apolitical philosophical methodology. The apolitical part was his way of delivering the lecture, but there was definitely a political reason behind it. His lecture, his scientific methodology was not apolitical. There was a political inspiration and a political goal. The political goal was what? To remove national character. He saw nationalism as the reason for the war and he wanted to act against it. So this is not true. Scientific philosophy was not apolitical. A necessary supplement to ethical philosophy. He is against ethical philosophy. He says that it disgusts me. He is not trying to supplement it. He said that this ethical philosophy, this sense of righteousness, these are you guys are using it to explain away murder. He says he uses the word disgust. So this is not something that he wants to supplement. D is also eliminated. Even if you didn't understand the word, you can then still say that B would be the right answer based on the fact that it is the antidote to nationalism. Okay. Any strategy for dash cats? Basically, Piyush, I would say that give the first dash cat if you have not taken dash cat yet. Get a baseline observation of how you are scoring. Then between dash cats, just have a focus on marginal improvement. That if you have a particular baseline and say that, okay, this much I'm scoring in arithmetic, this much in algebra, this much, identify an area where you can improve, because there will be some areas where you are doing rather poorly in. Then you say between this dash cat and the next dash cat, I focus on only this section, practice a lot of questions from this section. So between dash cats, I should see improvement in this particular part of any particular topic or section as such. Okay, let's go to the next question. Last question. Which of the following best reflects Russell's political beliefs during the war? He commended the outburst of righteousness despite it clearly being used as an excuse for murder. Commended? No, he was disgusted by it. He was not commending it. He was saying that this is disgusting. This outburst of righteousness should be stopped because it is wrong. Okay. What kind of RC is this? Philosophical. Yes, this is a philosophical RC. He was disgusted that nations under the garb of righteous virtue of nationalism were committing acts of persecution and murder. This is true, but it was not just directed at nations. He was not disgusted at nations as such, but he was also disgusted at the philosophy as such, the philosophy of nationalism. That was really the target of his disgust. Okay. He commended the use of persecution and murder. Again, clearly is not like saying that do persecution and murder. No, commended again means that he wanted to do it or he was like recommending it. No, he was not. He was not saying that, okay, murder people, persecute people. So clearly wrong. Okay, I hope all of you managed to remove A and C. I think most of you would have been this between B and D as such. He was disgusted at all righteous virtues which were used as a charade for persecution and murder by nations. This is exactly the point that he was disgusted by. He was disgusted by this self-righteousness that people were quoting why they had to attack each other. So this was the target of his disgust, this righteous virtues, this universal outburst of righteousness in all nations since the war began. And he basically said that this is basically what I have to fight against. He wanted to fight against the idea, not the nations as such. So again over here, one more thing is the problem. One is that he was not disgusted just at the nations, but more at the idea as such. And it was not just against nationalism. He was against any ethical philosophy which was used as a way of defending the violence, or he felt as the start of the violence. He felt nationalism was the spark of the violence or the war as such. But he was disgusted not just by nationalism, but all ethical philosophies. He felt that only rational philosophy, logical philosophy should be there. All these subjective philosophies should be removed. So it was not just about nationalism, but a broader attack on all ethical philosophies. So D would be the better answer. B and D are very close. When you have very close options like this, look at the part which is different. So he was disgusted at nations, disgusted at various righteous virtues. That is difference. Under the garb of righteous virtue of nationalism, against all righteous virtues as such, were committing actions of persecution and murder. This is common. Were used as a charade of persecution and murder. This is common. So eliminate this part which is common. This is common to both options as such. The two differences are disgusted that nations were doing it, disgusted at the virtues, disgusted at only virtue of nationalism, disgusted at plural virtues. So which of these two is right? D is right. So that is what you should do. Focus on the differences, like hyper focus on the differences, and then select the option which is right. Okay. Can you explain again which part, Jane? I'm not sure of that. I'll actually answer some of the questions. You tell me which part you want me to explain again. Okay. There are a lot of questions about this. Okay. How to tackle abstract passages? As I mentioned over here, try to understand the broader point. See, even if you didn't understand this, you can understand that this guy attacked him for his book. You can see that his problem with the book was the cosmopolitan character. You can understand that that cosmopolitan character was no illusion. It was true. Russell wanted to remove nationalism. And then you can understand why Russell wanted to remove the nationalism. Now, even if you are not able to understand specifics, if you understand these broader points also, you will be able to answer the questions. Okay. Ma'am, in the last question, isn't scientific philosophy would oppose violence caused from nationalism rather than nationalism itself? Yeah, under the garb of, no, he was against nationalism also. He clearly said, no, the spark of violence was nationalism. So he is against nationalism also. He is not only against, see, basically what is Russell? Russell is a philosopher. He is not against, he's not a soldier, he's not a politician. His domain is ideas. He is against ideas. He is against certain ideas which he feel are the cause of all problems. The virtue, the idea of nationalism. He was, in a more pointed way, that this Russell is not political. Privately, was partly inspired by the disgust at the universal outburst of righteousness in all nations since the war began. Essence of virtue is persecution. That is like, how do you show your good? You will fight, you will kill. That persecution is this. He has disgust of all ethical notions, chiefly useful as excuse of murder. So what was his problem with? Was it against war or against the ideas that supported war? He is a philosopher, he is a man of ideas. So that is basically why D is better. His disgust is not at the nations but at the excuses given for supporting the war. His issue is with the ideas that supported the war. Again over here, Rishant, as I said, remove all the things which are common to the options, hyper focus on the parts which are different, then you will find it. Okay, isn't the second last question, isn't scientific philosophy would oppose violence because by nationalism rather than nationalism itself? How to bring in such a situation would be confusing. So second last question, so effectuate the antidote to nationalism. No, not just violence of nationalism. He is against nationalism itself. He is saying that nationalism is the problem of all of this. All these ethical philosophies, he is against it. He wants a scientific philosophy, no ethical philosophies. What is ethical philosophy? Ethical philosophy is basically philosophers where subjective experiences are made philosophy. That, okay, how people feel, what they think, based on, like, as the author said, a crucial spark was this abstract pursuits that may seem highly remote to the concerns of this. So he is basically saying that he is against the kind of philosophies where which can be used to justify violence, and it's not just violence. He is saying that all such subjective philosophy should be removed. Only like logical scientific philosophy should be allowed, because he feels that only that one would be would prevent these kind of wars as such. Anushka is saying, should I focus on score or percentile? Don't focus on either, focus on the mistakes. That is the only thing you should really focus on as such. Because again, score and percentile make no sense as such. Percentile would be an indicator whether you're doing okay or not. But the main focus should be on your, like, how many questions are you attempting, what is your accuracy, what is your attempt rate. That is the main thing that you should be looking at. Options B and D in question 4, ma'am. Okay, how much time to devote to read the para along with written main points? So time for reading the paragraph, a passage and writing the main points is 5 minutes per RC. Okay, B and D. Okay, for the last question. Okay, so over here he was disgusted that nations under the garb of righteous virtue of nationalism were committing acts of persecution and murder. This is correct, but he is not just disgusted at the nations. His main target of disgust was what? These ethical philosophies, that it was allowing them to like explain or give an excuse for the violence. He was saying that you guys are like bloodthirsty. These guys on both sides, both the German side and the British side were bloodthirsty. These professors were bloodthirsty, and he was disgusted by that. So this is missing that point where the issue is with the ideas that they are promoting, not just with the violence, not just with nationalism, but the idea of nationalism being used as an excuse for the violence. So between B and D both are very close, but there are two parts which are slightly off. One is that he was disgusted that nations were committing acts. No, he was disgusted at the righteous virtues which were being used as a excuse for it. And he was not just targeting nationalism but all ethical philosophies which are called as the righteous virtues. So that's why D is the better option. Okay, let's go to VA. I think we have spent a lot of time on reading comprehension. Let's go to VA now. Okay, I'll try to answer many of your questions, but let's go to Parasummary. See, Parasummary, the idea of doing well in Parasummary is very clear. When you read the paragraph, write down what the key parts of the paragraph are. There will be at max 2. There won't be 3 key points, 4 key points, no. Ideally, there should be 1 key point. At max, there can be 2 key points. Write that down. So the option that you choose, A, B, C, D. Generally, there will be one option which has only 1. There will be one option which has only 2. One option which has a distortion. And then there will be only one option which has 1 and 2 and no distortion. Your job is firstly to first figure out what are the things that absolutely must be there. Also figure out what distortions are there. So write down 1 and 2, find out whether 1 and 2 are there in any of the options. If there is any distortion in any of the options, eliminate it right there and then. This is the simple process. Read the paragraph, write down the key points. There will be some basic key points. Key points should contain context, like if a particular discussion is happening about say reservation for women in postgraduate courses. Okay, if the discussion is entirely about reservation for women in postgraduate courses, that part that it is for postgraduate courses should also be there in the options. If it is just about reservation for women, it would be wrong, because the exact meaning or the exact argument should be there in the options. There should be no distortion about the argument. So write it down clearly in what specific recommendation or what specific action are they saying, and also write down in which context it is applicable. So the key point should be very, very well written down. Then go to the options, remove anyone which has a distortion, remove anyone which is an incomplete option, and you will get to the correct answer. Okay, I'll give you a particular question, try to implement that, and let's see, let's hope that most of you are able to solve this. Okay. Shelly, I would say that if you're generally good at RC, even if you're currently undergoing some underperformance in RC, don't change the strategy. What you can do is do 1 RC, 1 VA, 1 RC, 1 VA, because if you're doing 4 VAs together, you might feel burnt out. So that might also be the reason why you're not doing so well. So try to mix it up, but doing all 8 VA and then the 4 RCs might not be a good strategy, because again you will be burnt out. Nishar Rabik, what I would say is that, as I did in the options of B and D, okay, you come down to B and D, these are the two options. Remove all the parts which are different. Hyper focus on the parts which are, remove all the parts which are same. Hyper focus on the parts that are different between the two options. In that, focus on which one is the better phrasing for that particular answer. Then you get the right answer. Sometimes both of them seem fine, they seem close to each other, because you are focusing on the part which is similar. Remove all of that part. If you just focus on the part that is different, it becomes clearer. Okay. Ma'am, I solved around 500-600 RCs, but I'm still able to solve 1 or 2 questions correct in an RC. What should I do? So basically, I would say slow down in your solving, take more time to solve, do active reading, be more involved in reading the passage. If you're able to solve only, like if your accuracy is at like 25% or 50%, your understanding of the passage is the problem. You have to slow down, put more effort in understanding the passage, do more reading. Every RC that you attempt, don't skim the passage, spend a lot of time understanding the passage. See, basically that is the hard work that you have to do. That is like the tapasya you have to do. Answering the questions will become easy. If you don't put in that hard work there, even if you like just read through the passage without a lot of effort, the questions, even if you try to answer, you won't get it. The point is that first passage you might not understand, second passage you might not understand. But if you keep putting that fight to understand the passage, then you will see improvement. Unless you put that like sustained fight to understand the passage, you will not see real improvement as such. Sagar, thank you for telling me that it is working. Keep at it. See, basically helps me quite a bit. I actually use it. I know that you can do it in an exam scenario and attempt all 24 questions. Just keep at it. You will see a real change in your both accuracy as well as attempt rate. How to select the first RC to solve quickly out of the 3? Abhishek, I would say that your point should be to solve 3 out of 4 RCs. So there will be some RCs which you just don't like reading. Your point should be not selecting an RC but removing an RC that you don't like. So see RCs, start reading the RC. Unless you hate the RC, don't leave it. That should be the basic point as such. how to optimize both. See, there's a trade-off between accuracy and attempts. Your idea should be to get up to 80% accuracy. Any accuracy below 80%, the attempt rate just doesn't make sense anymore. Like if you're doing 4 questions of which at most 2 are right, it really is not worth it. If 1 is right, it is really not worth it. So what I would say is that you have to at least get to 80% accuracy, only then the attempt rate is even worth it. So first is that you should focus only on accuracy. You should let attempt rate go down the drain. Then if you're getting to 80% accuracy, then you should focus that I'll keep my 80% accuracy and then slowly try to bring my attempt rate also up. The first time that you focus and do active reading, your accuracy rate will be 80%. Your attempt rate might be just like out of the 4 RCs, you might end up doing only 1 or 2. Slowly with practice, those 1 RC will become 2 RC, 2 RC will become 3 RC as such. But that will come slowly over time with practice as such. Rohan, I would say that if you're not able to decide it, what I'll say is that do when you're reading, for the first RC you might be fresh and you might be able to keep it in your mind. You need not do the active reading then. But as you go in for the second RC, specifically from the third RC onwards, always write down the main point, because that time it is really needed. Very, very important at that time. First RC, if the RC is easy enough to read and you're like fresh, you're raring to go, you might not need it. But from the second RC, active reading is like indispensable, I feel. Ideal time to solve a complete RC. So what I try to aim at is 5 minutes for reading the RC, writing down the main points, and 3 minutes for all the 4 questions. So together I take 8 minutes. For the 4 RCs I take 32 minutes and I have 8 minutes left for the VA. I try to solve all the VA as much as possible. I end up solving most of the Parasummary and Insertion. And from Jumbles, sometimes I end up putting for OSC Jumbles or the Jumbles, I end up putting at least for 1 question, I end up guessing something. But I usually come very close to solving all 24 questions. If not like full all 24, I come at least 23 as such. So in general, what I would say is that if you give 32 minutes to RC and your RC accuracy is great, you will easily clear the cutoff as such. Then in 8 minutes, whatever extra marks that you can possibly get from VA, you should focus on doing that. I don't know how people have done, so let me check. Okay, so it is more, So it is one of the most painful and unthinkable situations that we humans as a species have to face up to: the extinction of a once thriving group of animals due to our thoughtless behavior. The plight of the northern white rhino is a particularly distressing story. Once there were thousands of this subspecies living across Africa, but relentless attacks by poachers supplying the lucrative illegal trade in rhino horn has devastated the population. Now there are just 2, and as these final survivors, Najin and Fatu, are both female and incapable of sustaining a pregnancy, many now consider these rhinos to be extinct with no chance of returning. The 2 that remain live out their lives constantly surrounded by armed guards at all times. So I can see 2 distinct points being made over here. One is that it is a painful and unthinkable thing that we have wiped out a animal due to our behavior. Humans have wiped it out. The plight of this is the general statement that humans, thoughtless behavior, killing an entire species. And the author is saying that this is painful and unthinkable. This is the general statement. Then it comes to the specific case of the rhinos, which is the focus of this paragraph. So the rhino is a particularly distressing story. This is also important. When you use words like this, distressing story, painful, unthinkable, you have to essentially make note of those. When emotions are being shared, those are the key markers of what is important. Once there were thousands of this subspecies living across Africa, but relentless attacks. So because of the poachers, only 2 are left. Okay, and these are both female. So there is no chance of any further rhinos being born. So they are almost extinct as such. They are living, but once they die out, it's done. White rhinos will be extinct. So basically what is being said that the white rhinos near extinction due to poaching. So So let us now take a look at the options. These two should always be there. These are the important bits that should be there. The two northern white rhinos that remain are always surrounded by armed guards to protect them from relentless attack by poachers and illegal haunt trade. This is there in the passage, but it is not either the two white rhinos that remain are surrounded. So it's not even telling that they are near extinction, nor also telling that humans are responsible for this. Both the main points are missing, so A is easy to eliminate. Okay. The once thriving group of northern white rhinos is now on the verge of extinction due to relentless attacks by poachers and illegal haunt trade. So the second point is there, but where is the first point? The first point is missing. So because the first point is missing, that humans are responsible for it, that humans have caused this pain, that part is missing. So B is also not the right answer. Humans as a species have to reckon with the extinction of animal species due to our actions. The northern white rhino is virtually extinct due to poaching. So this is basically where the both 1 and 2 are there. There is no distortion. So C is the right answer. The extinction of a once thriving group of animals due to our thoughtless behavior is one of the most painful and unthinkable situations that we as humans as a species have to face up to. So it's not just which animal. White rhino is also not mentioned. So it is not just an unthinkable situation that we have to face up to. Firstly, we caused it. Secondly, it is the white rhino and it is near extinction. Many important parts are not there. This is some general statement which has nothing to do with what is given in the passage as such. So D can be eliminated. C is the right answer. Let's go to the next question and I'll try to answer any doubts you might have about this. The fact that it is painful and unthinkable is a point, right? Option 3 states that we should consider and not that it is painful. We should reckon with. Reckon with means that we should actually accept what we have done. Reckon with something means to just not consider. It is basically to reckoning is like a kind of a harsh reality. We have to face the truth of what we have done essentially. So it is something where the author is saying that we are responsible. We are responsible is what he is trying to say through the paragraph as such. Okay. So Godwin is asking, should we do VARC alternatively or VA after RC? So that is all, like both strategies will work. I use the VA after RC because my RC is my strength. Marty uses this VA-RC alternating thing because he does not like reading all 4 RCs together. It works for him. So what works for you depends on, like, you see based on your mock scores, how you felt during the mock. Did you feel rushed? While solving an RC, you don't want to feel rushed also. So depending on how you felt about it, you can then choose what is the right strategy for you. Is there any tips or things to keep in mind while solving this question? Okay, Matthew, so what I'll say is that firstly, go to cracku.in/live. Anybody who has joined now, this is actually taking place on the platform. You can solve the question there, you can submit your answer and then see in the scoreboard how you're doing. What you should remember while solving this question, write down the key points that must be there. There'll be like 1 or 2 key points per paragraph. And you should first see that the option is complete. Both points are addressed and there should be no distortion. Okay. I think most of you were able to solve this. I don't know why this was difficult, but let's see. A sharp drop in mortgage rate, interest. So this is economics based. So many people might be tripped up by that. They didn't understand the economics of it. A sharp drop in mortgage interest rates has sparked a sudden and unexpected refinance boom, said Diana Olick at CNBC. A flight to the safest federal bonds has sent the interest rates on 10-year treasury bonds to record lows and mortgage rates have plummeted with them. This week, average mortgage rates hit 3.11% and borrowers have descended on mortgage lenders to take advantage. Bank of America told one caller there was a 2-hour wait to speak with a loan officer. Some lenders have expanded hours and hired staff to meet a demand running on 3 times the usual volume. It's absolute pandemonium. One sales officer at cross country mortgage in Boca Raton, Florida put it. Let's put it this way, we are like Home Depot during a hurricane. So what is happening? Two things are happening. I'll try to briefly tell you the economics of it, but it is not important. You will be able to solve it without the economics of it also. But basically, I'll tell you what is happening. See what happens in a bond, okay? A bond has a bond price. Like a stock, if you buy a bond price, what will happen? The bond price will rise. If more people buy a bond, its price rises. The same way like a stock, if people buy a stock, the stock prices rises. Similarly, if more people buy a bond, the bond price rises. But implicit in the bond is a rate of interest. Basically, like if you have the 100 is the final nominal value on the bond as such, okay? That divided by 1 plus the r raised to time remaining, this is the price of the bond. So if the price of the bond increases, what happens to the rate on the bond? It decreases. Now all these rates are interconnected. So as this rate decreases, the mortgage rate also decreases, because all of these rates are essentially interconnected, because the rate at which the government can borrow, it is called like the repo rate. So basically that rate, or the banks can borrow, will be the repo rate. Based on that, your like house owners mortgage rate would be connected to this. So it will be like this rate plus 1% or this rate plus 2%. Most of the rates at which we get house loans are connected to the rates at which banks can borrow from the government. So as this rate goes down, even my rate as a house loan person, that loan rate will also go down. Now what happens when the house loan rate goes down? So firstly, what has happened, I'll tell you. So the rates of bonds have gone down, and as a result of that, mortgage rates in turn have gone down. Now mortgage rate that goes down, it doesn't directly affect your loan. Why does it not directly affect your loan? Because your loan is say 10% compound interest home loan. So even if the rate has gone down, it doesn't directly affect you. But what can you do? You can refinance your housing loan. So refinance basically means that I go to another bank, or I go to my own bank and say that, see, I am now borrowing from you at 10%. But now the rates everywhere else have gone down. So either reduce the rate, or I'll pay you the lump sum of what is remaining. I'll take a loan from bank B, pay you off, and now instead pay the loan on bank B as such. And bank B is now ready to give me at 7%. So why should I pay you 10% when I can do the same kind of loan at 7%? So that is basically refinancing of loans. So as the mortgage rates have gone down, there are a lot of people are trying to refinance loans, and refinancing of loans has become so crazy that there's a 2-hour wait on phone call. People are calling the bank and saying we want to refinance, and there are so many people calling that there's a 2-hour wait to do that. Home Depot during a hurricane is what? Home Depot is a store which has a lot of things which are required for surviving a hurricane. So whenever a hurricane comes, people rush to it and they try to buy as much as possible. So there's like a mad rush for refinancing these loans as such. Both points have to be there. Firstly, that the rates of bonds have fallen and mortgage rates have fallen. Secondly, there is a mad rush to refinance loans. The correct option should have both. So let's take a look at it. With people investing in federal bonds, the mortgage rates have dropped, resulting in an unexpected rush to refinance. Some financial institutions have expanded hours and hired staff to meet the demand. Exactly, everything is there, that there is federal bond rates have gone down, mortgage rates have gone down, there's a rush to refinance. Now because of that, the expanding hours etc. is there. So A is correct, there is no distortion, there is no error as such. It contains both the things that should be there. Second, let's take a look at option B. With mortgage rates dropping, people are investing in federal bonds. Who is investing in federal bonds? Resulting in an unexpected rush to refinance this. So refinance not to invest in federal bonds. People are investing in federal bonds, and because people are investing in federal bonds, federal bond rate is going down, and because of that mortgage rate has gone down. The cause effect have been flipped. Cause is mortgage rate federal rate has gone down, and therefore mortgage rates are dropping. So the cause effect is flipped over here. So this is a distortion. So it's like saying that rain falls and the ground has become wet. So this is like, no, because the ground has become wet, the rain is falling. So they have flipped it. That's why this is wrong as such. The unexpected rush to borrow as a result of people investing in federal bonds has caused a drop in mortgage rates. So unexpected rush to this, they are not borrowing to invest in federal bonds. Where is this coming from? They are calling, the rush is to refinance the loan. They are still invested only in home loan. You are going to actually just keep putting money in your home loan only. You are not buying bonds because of that. So the bonds is generally something that happens where investors put money in bonds. That is different from like the average Joe who is putting money in his own house or having a home loan as such. So both of these are creating some random distortion where the logic of rates of bonds to mortgage rates to refinancing is being broken, and in ulta it is like, okay, refinancing and in rates of bonds and mortgage rates has been put. So both B and C have essentially distorted the like the cause effect chain as such. So that's why both are wrong. Okay. Financial institutions will expand hours and hire staff to meet the demand of unexpected rush to refinance, resulting in people investing in federal bonds, which cause the mortgage rate. People are not this is not what is happening. Okay. So basically the people are trying to invest the federal bonds, the flight to safety of federal bonds has caused a federal bond rate to drop, and that has caused mortgage rates to drop, which is why people are refinancing the house, refinancing home loans. So they are rushing to refinance what? They are not rushing to refinance and buy bonds. So B, C, D all are just distorting what people are refinancing. Why are they going to the bank? To refinance their home loans, not to buy bonds. Okay, what to do if they think their key points are not actual key points and I cannot solve with the help of writing key points? See, basically you have to understand the paragraph. Over here, basically because it was slightly economics related, it was difficult to understand, but it is easy to understand the distortions. Over here also, this part is repeated, ignore it. This part is repeated, ignore it. This part is repeated, ignore it. Then you come to the first line only. In all three of them, only the first line really mattered. Over here, this part does not really matter at all. The only part that mattered, you should just compare the parts that matter. Then you can see and spot the distortion much more easily. Okay, let's go on to the para completion part. Para completion is basically the sentence will be given. I also call it para insertion as such, and you have to find in the passage paragraph where to insert that given sentence. So there will be blanks and you have to figure out where to insert the given sentence. Generally, the way I solve it is look for a place where some explanation is needed or there is some like discontinuity. Discontinuity is the biggest, discontinuity of logic is the biggest hint that there is a line missing over here. Secondly, look for connections between the sentence and any part of the paragraph. If the idea in the sentence is connected to the latter part of the paragraph, then I say that this sentence is connected to ideas being discussed over here. So at least 1 and 2 I can eliminate. Then I have to focus only on 3 and 4. Then I say that in 3 and 4, I'll read out the passage by putting the sentence in 3. Then I'll again read the passage by putting the sentence in 4. One of this will click, the other will not, and then I'll know the answer. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the, I'll post a question. We'll understand this best only by solving. So let's take a look at this question. This is not easy, but not very difficult also. I would say this is moderate as such, not hard also. To all those who are seeing our stream, I would like to remind all those who are seeing our stream that please, if you're looking for good quality mocks, do check out Cracku's mocks. We have 5 mocks and 15 sectionals for just rupees 499. These mocks are taken by thousands of students. You will get very, very high quality mocks, high quality questions. All questions are exactly at CAT level. And you will get good text solutions, good video solutions. You will get faculty attempts. So all of that, just do check out the DashCat mocks as such. And so 10 DashCat mocks are there with video solutions, and we have 5 mocks and 15 sectionals, I think, with text solutions. So do check out the our sale that is going on right now, and you will get a proper offer that is like a discounted group offer as such. So somebody is asking what to do during the last few days as such. Can we leave the VARC section? I know that the questions that you are asking every single time, can I leave all quant section? Can I leave the VARC section? No, you can't leave that. What I would suggest for somebody who's asking what should you do in the last few days before CAT? Practice, 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 practice. Basically, I remember what I did in my CAT attempt and what worked for me. And I'll tell you that what worked for me was solving a lot of questions. Seeing a lot of video solutions would be will help you only to a bit. Basically, you should see video solutions or you should see the concept videos only if you don't know a particular concept as such. But in the last few days, just solve a lot of questions. What you should essentially look at is that, for example, we have the top 100 quant question video. You can see the video, pause the video, solve the question. If you go through the entire 100 questions, right, those 100 questions will prepare you for the quant section like completely. Similarly, the 25 DILR set video, the links are there in the description box. See the video. Try to solve the sets. It is very, very important that you start practicing like that, where you actually try to learn with practice, because the last few days you should just be solving a lot as such. Okay. In this mock, I think my lowest score was actually in DC 14. I think in quant I scored like 21 marks because I was like not motivated and I was not looking at the time. So I did many times in questions which I should not have. Again, basically, I will tell you that in mocks also the difficulty level changes as such. In CAT also the difficulty level changes. Something that I realized from CAT 2023 is that you should respond to the difficulty level of the actual CAT. So what I will say is that in CAT 2024, when you are solving the quant section, for example, after the first two questions have been solved, look at the time that is taken. If you have solved the two questions after 3 minutes or 4 minutes, then this is an easy section as such. Then you should aim that I should solve at least 12-13 questions. If you have taken like 6-7 minutes, this is not an easy section. Then you should say that ideally I should try to hit 10, but even if I do 8 correctly, it should be enough. So you should essentially like your attempt strategy should be dynamic. The difficulty varies in CAT and you should essentially respond to the difficulty of the section in front of you. Okay, so let's see how people have done. I think this was slightly difficult and but this is exactly what will come in CAT, exact difficulty level, neither too difficult nor too trivial. So the internet has opened up far more voices on left in every way. So thank you so much. So the sentence that is given is, the internet has opened up far more voices on the left in every way. The paragraph that is there in front of us is, progressive opinion journalism has changed even more dramatically. Breaking from the path to question a shared belief on the left is no longer a price trait. It is now possible to build a career unswervingly affirming progressive movement stances. What does this mean? This is like a lot of words. Basically, it means that progressive opinion journalism has changed. Now, nobody wants somebody who actually questions beliefs. Nobody wants somebody who is like, nobody wants a progressive leftist who will question the left. Everybody believes that left, these are our agenda. Nobody should question it. You shouldn't like break from the pack. And in fact, you can actually make a career by just sticking to the rules, like saying that, okay, this is what we believe in. Nobody question it, and if you never question it, you can build a very good career. If you actually start questioning it, your career is in like trouble. On the whole, the profession has changed for the better. There are more writers from more perspectives and bringing more expertise, and more of them are not white men. The absurdity of the 90s world in which the ideological spectrum of mainstream thought ended at the center left needed to die. My work as a liberal writer is far more interesting today than it was when I began. Liberalism as a whole benefits from a strong critique from the left as well as the right. So I can split this paragraph into 3 parts actually. So first part is, now the progressive opinion journalism has changed. You are essentially expected not to question the left. So the idea is do not question the left. If you are a leftist, you should not break from the pack and question it. But on the whole, things have improved. The profession has changed for the better. More people have started saying, it is not just center left, not just white men. More people are saying things. my work has also become more interesting than what it has begun. So overall better. This is the point over here. But the main point that the author is trying to say is that, but liberalism as a whole benefits not just from strong critique from the left as well as the right. So he's saying that even though things have improved, we still should be open to criticism. And right now at the start he has said that we are very close to criticism. We do not allow for criticism. So that is basically what the author is saying. Our sentence, what does it say? The internet has opened up far more voices on the left in every way. So what is this about? That more people are allowed to speak. Now this is a pro or this is a con? This is a pro. So which part would it actually fit in? It would fit in this part where the author is saying that on the whole the profession has changed for the better. More people are allowed to speak. There are more writers from more perspectives bringing the more expertise. So given sentence, where can it fit? It can either fit in 3 or 4. So first I begin by eliminating 1 and 2. Now let's say, okay, on the whole the profession has changed for the better. The internet has opened up far more voices on the left in every way. There are more writers from more perspectives and bringing more expertise, and more of them are not white men. The absurdities of the 1990s world in which the ideological spectrum of mainstream broad thought ended at the center left needed to die. My work as a liberal writer is far more interesting today than what it was when it began. Could be, but it doesn't have the same flow. Because if you see this, on the whole the profession has changed for the better. This sentence, it is actually explaining how it has improved for the better. There are more writers from more perspectives from different backgrounds. So basically the spectrum has broadened, and this is more of a conclusion line saying that more voices have opened up in every way. Every way is essentially explained over here. So that is basically this is more of a concluding line saying that, okay, internet has allowed more people to speak up. So this given sentence makes lesser sense over here than over here, where it is going to function as a concluding line. This structure, this sentence is a concluding line. It makes more sense as a concluding line than an introductory line. These two sentences are basically the same thing, that more people can speak. And this line is also about how more people can speak. But this line is more of a concluding sentence than an opening sentence. So that's why it makes more sense in option 4 rather than option 3. In option 3, the sentence structure is slightly stilted. You are going from like answering how it is better, that you are answering that there are more writers. So the profession of writing has improved. When you say the internet has opened up more voices on the left, it in itself does not explain why the profession has improved as such. But the fact that there are more writers, that explains why the profession has improved. So this given sentence makes more sense over here, where it is tying up together. Okay, there are more voices on the left now. So that is telling you that, concluding that everything have become better in a way, and therefore it makes more sense in 4. Even more dramatically, doesn't make that option 1 a better fit. But if you see what is what is it talking about changed more dramatically? It is saying that things have become worse. He is saying that people breaking from the pack to question the shared belief of the left is no longer a price trade. So he is not talking about good changes, he is talking about bad changes. But is opening up of the internet a bad change? No, right? It's a good change. So there's first part which is like, okay, what is bad going on? Second part is what is good going on. Finally saying that we need to balance criticism on both sides. So therefore the author is essentially concluding at the end. This sentence is about the good part. It is a good change that has taken place. So it will not fit in either the first part of the passage. It has to be there in the second half of the passage. Okay. Oh, sorry. Wait. Oh, sorry, I'm wrong actually over here. It is option 3. I got mistaken. So this is correct. Okay, so internet has opened up more voices on the left in every way. There are more writers. Sorry guys, I got confused. So 3 is the answer. Basically then it means that this is not the concluding line. This is the opener, that the whole profession has changed for the better. There are more voices on the left. There are more writers, not all white men. World has ideological spectrum, is mainstream, is left, center that needed to die. Yeah, between 3 and 4, I initially felt it was 4, but I'm wrong. It is 3 actually. So yeah, no, Srijita, I am wrong over here. I felt both 3 and 4 are possible, but I think it is 3 as such. I think my marking is wrong. I think both of them I felt was possible as such, but I think 3 would be the better answer of the 2. Honestly, both of them can fit. I would say that both of them are a possibility. Yeah, sorry about that, Jasmine. I know that this is basically what has happened is that the given sentence is adding in the same way. all three of them, this part, okay, there are writers more on the left. This is an adding the same sentence. This is also same sentence, that both of them are center left needed to die. This is that internet has opened up more voices in every way. In a way, you can say that this is expanding on why it is in every way. Why is it in every way? There are more writers. The absurdity of one side of the this is wrong. So it can make sense in 3 also. But it can make sense in 4 also. But I think this makes more sense in 3 because the absurdity of 90s world needed to die sounds like a more dramatic line than this. Actually, when I was explaining also, the general flow of sentences are general to specific. If you see the given sentence, it is a general sentence. These 2 lines are actually specific sentences. So I was wrong. Sorry about that, guys. The general sentence has to come before the specific. So it makes more sense in option 3. Sorry about that. Sorry, guys. I know I have disappointed you guys a lot because I also was confused between both of them. Yeah, sorry about that because I felt that it made more sense to me in 4, but 3 and 4 were equal in a way. So in this case, both of them are possible, but I think 3 is just marginally better. But I think both are then possible. Okay. Sorry, guys. Let me redeem myself with the next question. Okay. Okay. I hope to do better over here. So let's try to do better over here. What to do in question situation like this? Should we skip in the paper? See, even if you are able to narrow it down to 2 options, still mark it, because 2 options, the probability wise, you will actually, if you get half probability, half into +3 minus half into -1, it is still positive marks as such, positive expected value. So if you are able to even narrow it down to 2 possibilities, you should mark it off. We should take a break, yeah. Sorry about this, guys. I'll try to finish this. See, we are very close. We'll finish the para insertion, para OC and para jumbles, and then we'll be done with all VARC. And it would be a big thing. We'll be done with the entire this. Okay. So Sayali is asking, I'm doing 4, 5 RCs every day, but notice after a few weeks my performance starts to drop. Now I'm unsure whether to practice RCs till CAT or to keep improving or lay off. I think basically you're kind of getting burnt out by it. I would suggest everybody that have a balanced practice in the last few days. Don't just do RCs. So do an actual mock. Practice from the, do mocks and sectionals rather than just only RCs, because you get bored of it. You should also have the motivation to do well, right? If you're taking mocks, you have the motivation to get a good mock score. But if you just keep doing RCs, you will get bored of it. So have a more balanced practice approach as such. Gamer Race is asking, where can we find this new t-shirt? Okay, I guess some people are liking the cute cat t-shirt. This was basically we gave for the people last year, for those who did well in CAT. We gave a cat t-shirt and said, bell the cat, for those who cracked CAT last year. So how do you get this t-shirt? Crack CAT. If you crack CAT 2024, we'll give you the t-shirt, okay? This is for all those. This is extra motivation for all of you to crack CAT, okay? Let's see how people have done. Okay, yeah, difficult one, huh? I don't know why. I don't think this was a very difficult one, but let's see. Decisions were rooted in subjective experience, not objective data. To pretend otherwise was to try quixotically to calculate the incalculable. So the passage is, modern artists and writers, including Keynes' friend Virginia Woolf, were connoisseurs of uncertainty. But Keynes was the only one brave enough or daft enough to carry that connoisseurship into economic thought. So both of them were somebody involved heavily in understanding uncertainty. But between Virginia Woolf and Keynes, Virginia Woolf was a literate, wrote literature. Keynes was the only one brave enough or stupid enough to carry this idea of uncertainty into economic thought. By 1910, he was already bringing his awareness of uncertainty to bear on his views of investors' motives to formulate the foundation of his insight into the centrality of animal spirits. So he was now using the idea of uncertainty to explain investors, to explain stock markets. The assumption that investors behaved like calculating economic men required overlooking the true nature of the financial markets. What really made them hum was investors' willingness to make bets on largely unknown future. So basically, the idea that we are like very rational economic men is not true. Most of us are governed by animal spirits, the fear of missing out, greed, etc. And Keynes was the first person to actually try to bring this idea about the humanness of nature to economic thought, to economics, to investors, to stock market as such. That people don't invest purely based on rational, like calculating the worth of the stock. People based on irrational exuberance of like things like, okay, this person is buying, so I should buy, or there's like fear of missing out that if I don't buy now, the stock will rally. So he's basically saying that he was the first one to bring this idea of uncertainty to like economic thought. As Keynes wrote, the investor will be affected, as is obvious, not by the net income which he will actually receive from his investments in the long run, but by his expectations. These will often depend upon fashion, upon advertisement, upon purely irrational waves of optimism and depression. So his fashion basically means that, okay, what are other people doing? That there's a bandwagon effect. Advertisement means basically like what is being sold to him. People will also sell different shares, right? So, and upon irrational waves of optimism or depression means people will suddenly feel optimistic or feel pessimistic. So, humans do not invest like rational robots. We are not robots, so we will also have these irrational ways of investing. And Keynes was the first one to observe that. Okay, the sentence that is given is, decisions were rooted in subjective experience, not objective data. To pretend otherwise, to try quixotically to calculate the incalculable. So what is this referring to? This is referring to investment behavior, that investment decisions were subjective, they were not objective. So again, this sentence would fit where? It would fit in the last part of the passage, that the investor was affected by all of these things. The idea of like people being not rational but slightly irrational is there in the last half of the paragraph. So again, this can be eliminated. Again, we come to 3 and 4. So where will this be? See, basically, in these kind of options, in these kind of sentences, look at the subject. Here the subject is decisions. Decisions of what? The decisions of investors. The investor will be affected by these kind of other subjective things. The subjective experience. What is the subjective experience being talked over here? What is in fashion? What is being advertised? What is like what when they are optimistic, pessimistic? So the subjective experience is mentioned over here, which means that this given decisions are talking about the investor investment decisions, and the subjective experience is this. So where will this sentence end up in? It will end up in option 4. As a sentence, if you put it in option 3, for example. So assumption is that the investors are not, if you take a look at this sentence, it tells you about the investors. The investors are not calculating economic men. They are not rational robots. They are in fact affected by subjective things like what is in fashion, what is in being sold, etc. So till here, consistently, you are being described investors. From this point onwards, you can talk about the decisions of these investors. So therefore, this sentence won't fit in 3, it would fit in 4. Okay. So Kumod is saying, "Ek bhi nahi sahi ho raha." Don't worry, Kumod. This basically happens a lot. See, in VRC, you need confidence, you need flow, you need momentum. It will come with practice. So just keep at it. See, all of these things, no, the reason why I'm able to solve this better, I'm better at this than Maruti, is because I do a lot of it. I do a lot of VRC, I make all the questions. It is not aptitude, it is just solving. If it was aptitude, Maruti might have done better over here than I did. But I have I do better here, Maruti does much better than me in both LRDI and Quant. It is basically a function of practice. The more you do, the more you keep doing, the better you're going to get at it. So Kumar, don't be disheartened, just solve a lot of questions. You will get to the you will start feeling more confident if you solve a lot of questions. If you go through these kind of questions again and again, you will get the confidence then. Okay. So let's go to the next part, which is parajumbles. We'll try to be faster this time because we have slightly overshot this. So in parajumbles, what to remember? The first thing that I actually look for in parajumbles is pronouns. And whenever I see a pronoun, I try to find the antecedent. So what is pronoun? He, him, she, her, they, it, those. And whenever I find anything like this, I try to find any subject which would actually match that pronoun. This I feel is the most most surefire way of finding the pairs. Once you have a pair, your chance of solving the parajumble becomes much higher. So the idea should be to find pairs. If the pronoun doesn't help, if this doesn't help, look for logically related sentences. Logically related sentences could be talking about the same thing. One sentence could be an elaboration of the other, or they could be related by conjunction, where there is a conjunction like but, also. So when you have a conjunction like that, the two sentences are related because they have the same idea or they have opposing ideas and they are connected by a conjunction. So either look for logical relationship between the sentences or look for pronoun antecedent. I have generally found both of these generally give me pairs. Once the pairs are formed, then try to look at what would be the order of the sentences. Order of the sentences could be based on chronological order in which things take place. It could be going from general to specific. So if you are explaining things, you give a general statement and then you add specifics to it. It could be from broader to narrower, where you basically say that, okay, I was standing outside the house, then I went in, then I saw the person sitting on the sofa or something like that. So generally the flow of the passage will come from after you have like these pairs, you will understand, okay, the flow of the passage logically has to be like this. So after the pairs are found, after the links between the sentences are found, try to identify the flow of the passage, flow of the paragraph. Okay, with that I will let you attack the first question, but do the same thing. Okay, first identify all the pronouns, try to find the subject that pronoun refers to, find all the logical links, make pairs. If you have the pairs also, even if you don't get the correct answer, as long as you get to the point of making pairs, that would be good. Okay, should I continue from here or watch from first? Shripati, you can continue from here or you can watch from first. I think we are near the end as such. So we'll be covering the parajumbles and OC parajumbles over here. We have like already covered a lot of this VARC, etc. So you can start from the first also. I would say go to cracku.in/live. So you can then see the entire test that is there and try to solve the test. It is always important to solve questions while we are seeing the video also. If you are solving the questions, you can see the video and pause it and see the questions that are occurring. Then you can understand, okay, why a particular question was right or wrong. Okay, anybody who joined late and doesn't know where the test is taking place, it is taking place at cracku.in/live. The live session test, all the questions are there. Okay. Satyaki, I'm not telling you the answer. I'll tell you the answer after this, but I'll give you a hint, your answer is not right. Thank you for telling me I'm redeemed. Yeah. So basically, Shikhar, what I will say that, see, even I get like, when going into CAT also, I get very worried that, okay, if I don't do well, it would look embarrassing. I don't care about the result, but I know that it would look embarrassing if I can't do well in CAT, because it is a indicator of how close we are to the pulse of the questions. If we are far away from the pulse of the questions, we ourselves won't be able to solve the CAT. So that is basically a way of like keeping touch with the format, the difficulty, everything. It is like a very big test of how close we are to the CAT as such. So we always are looking at it from that perspective. The way when I look at VARC, I want to test basically the questions that I'm setting in mocks. Are they the same questions that are coming in CAT? So anytime when I'm taking the CAT and I see, okay, the first time I saw those questions where they were double negative, okay, I think 2 years back they suddenly started doing those questions. All of these are false except. Then I started, okay, I didn't prepare like my students for these kind of questions. Why did I not do that? So basically my mind is not really key. How would I recover? My mind is always like this I didn't prepare, I should have prepared questions like this. So I always am looking at it from the perspective of what I need to make in mocks in dash cats. I look at the CAT as saying that this is what I need to make in my mocks next year. So that is basically what is going on. Okay, let's go to the sentences that are there. A major study finding that seabirds in the northern hemisphere are already struggling. Seabirds are sentinels of ocean health because if the marine ecosystem suffer, the birds will be among the first to show it. And without extra protections, those in the southern hemisphere might be next. These pointings point to a broader patterns of environmental change across the world's oceans. So those and without extra precautions, southern hemisphere might be next. So I can see 1 and 3 are clearly related. Northern hemisphere, they are already struggling. Those in the southern hemisphere will be next. Those are essentially referring to the seabirds mentioned over here. Seabirds are there in two places, over here and over here also. But clearly there is a logical link between 1 and 3. So northern hemisphere is already struggling and southern will be next, might be next. So basically, and this and is also there, which is a conjunction. So these two are definitely linked because of the pronoun, because of the conjunction, and logically also they are linked. Northern hemisphere is first, the southern hemisphere will be linked. So this is definitely a pair that you should definitely look out for. Now another pronoun that I see is these. These findings, which findings are they referring to? 2 does not have any findings. The major study has findings. So 1 and 3 essentially are the findings of the major study, that the northern hemisphere seabirds are struggling and the southern hemispheres might be next. So these findings will refer to the findings of 1 and 3. So it should come after that. These findings should come after that. If you take a look at seabirds are sentinels of ocean, it's an introductory sentence to seabirds. Who are seabirds? They are sentinels of the ocean. So either you can have 2, 1, 3, 4 or 1, 3, 4, 2. Now 1, 3, 4, 2 would basically mean that you are concluding by saying that they are sentinels of ocean health, because if the marine ecosystem suffer, the birds will be among the first to show it. So this is more an introductory sentence. It is showing that, okay, why is the seabird health of importance? Because it tells you that the marine ecosystem is also messed up. So if you see 1, 3, 4 tells you that the seabirds are struggling. So if you actually introduce with that line, it tells you the significance of what the remaining the study is telling you, that it is telling you the seabirds are struggling, and the fact that the seabirds are sentinels of the ocean, it implies that if the seabirds are struggling, the marine eco health is also bad. The first sentence is an introductory line introducing us to the seabirds. So therefore it should come first, and the order of the sentences should be 2, 1, 3, 4. How will 1, 3 come after 1? 3 can also be a conclusion. Look at the links between 1 and 3. A major study of this are already struggling. And you only use when you are adding. And to a similar thought I am adding. Northern hemisphere is already struggling and southern hemisphere might follow. They are very clearly linked. Second, those in this. If you have those, okay, some people put 4, 3, right? Those in the southern hemisphere might be next. Who are they referring to? Who is this pronoun referring to? Is there any subject in the fourth sentence? No, it is talking about patterns and findings in a report. Can a finding be referred to as those in the southern hemisphere? No. That pronoun will have no antecedent in that particular case. So 4, 3 is impossible because those requires an antecedent, and the antecedent is there in 2 and 1. So 3 can only come after 2 or 1. It cannot come after 4. Okay. Let's go to the next question. Is 3 VRC and all VA questions a good attempt? It's a good attempt. But I would say that if it's a easy VRC set, try to do the fourth one also. If you get very trivial RCs, no, then try for the fourth RC also. If you are like feeling that it is as per the earlier levels, I think this is fine. If it is as per last year's CAT, you are able taking the same time to do the RC, then 3 VRC and all 3 RCs and all VA are a good attempt. If it's easier, you need to up the attempt. Two, 3, 4, 1. See, 1 and 3 are linked. They are logically linked. They are north hemisphere and south hemisphere. Whenever anything like a conjunction like and, but, although, though, in addition to, anything like that is used, they are connected sentences. You have to see where it is adding to. It is logically adding to something else that is already there. So which sentence was it adding to? It was adding to the sentence that was in 1. So 1 and 3 are a mandatory pair. Okay, let's see how people have done. Okay, 40 seconds left. Do it quickly. Should we write main points of RC paragraphs, actual exam in rough sheet? Yes, I do that, and the rough sheet is enough for both RCs. So I use like 2 sides for the RC. The VA I saw, LRD I saw 2 sets. So again, I take 2 pages. The remaining is more than enough for quant. You will not run out of pages in actual CAT. Satyaki, try again. Your pairs were right, Satyaki. The order was not. Yeah, now everybody is able to solve it now that I've told all of this. Okay, so let's see how to do this. Okay. The new report recommends an inclusive approach to preserving historic sites in the US. Latino heritage sites and monuments are disproportionately underrepresented in official lists like National Register of Historic Places and National Historic Landmarks. In fact, fewer than 8% of designated landmarks specifically represent the histories of ethnic minorities according to the report. So referring to some report earlier. The recommendations include upgrading the criteria for National Park Services uses to decide how sites get listed in the National Register, and opening the process of to public opinion and local community engagement. 2 things that I see over here. First is I see no pronouns, and I'm slightly sad because of it, but fortunately I have conjunctions. In fact means you give an evidence to a statement that is given earlier, and over here the report is there. In fact, 8% of the landmarks, so you're giving evidence to support a statement saying that only 8% of them are ethnic minorities. So the sentence should be something which is telling you that very few of them are actually representing ethnic minorities. So where is the statement given where you are saying that very few of the ethnic minority heritage sites are being listed? One tells you inclusive approach. It is telling you the recommendation but not the results. So this is not adding to the result. The result should say that very few of them are actually listed. Heritage sites are underrepresented in this. So this is in line. So 2 says that they are underrepresented. 3 says in fact fewer than 8% are actually registered. So 2, 3 together tell you the story of what is the case, that very few Latino heritage sites are actually listed in the register. In fact, fewer than 8% are actually considered as landmarks. Now you consider new report recommends inclusive approach to preserving historic sites. The recommendations include the recommendations. This is the start of the new report is recommending. The recommendations include the recommendations of what? The recommendations of the new report. So these 2 together tell you the recommendations of the new report. 2, 3 tells you the problem. 1, 4 tells you the solution. The order of all the flow is generally first you tell the problem, then you tell the solution. Another link, even if you didn't know that you have to tell the problem first and then the solution, this part tells you the National Register. 2 tells you National Register of the Historic Places and Landmarks. This is the full form. This is the short form. You give the short form only after you have given the full form. So that basically means that 1, 4 has to come after 2, 3. So the order of the sentences should be 2, 3, 1, 4. Okay. 1 introduces the report, so shouldn't it come? Even I thought when I said the report and new report, I thought maybe this should be the precursor. But if you see, this has directly gone ahead to recommendations. The new report should first tell you the problem, right? It should tell you that the new report tells you that very few of them are listed, and then it recommends that this should be done. But this has directly gone to recommendation, so that's why it's not correct. The new report. So the new report tells you already that okay, the problem has been settled and this is what it is recommending for solution. Moreover, in fact is given, and it has to add to a problem that is mentioned earlier. It is evidence of a problem. 1 does not tell you the problem, it tells you the solution. So 1 and 3 cannot be related. Okay. Let's go to OSC parajumbles. We'll quickly do what should you do in OSC parajumbles, what should you look out for. See, in OSC parajumbles, firstly is try to unscramble, try to form a PJ. That is the safest way of unscrambling the OSC parajumble. Find sentences which are unconnected to other sentences, where there are either pronouns which have no antecedents, or topics or keywords where nothing of the that particular keyword or that particular topic has been mentioned earlier. That is the biggest sign. Okay, if everything is about, like, say, car insurance, and suddenly one line is about home insurance or health insurance, you know that wait a minute, nowhere else has this spoken about health insurance. So this is the odd one out. So find any sentence where a pronoun does not have an antecedent, that is the odd one out. Any sentence where a keyword is new or a topic is new, is different from the other lines as such, that is the odd one out. Then try to see whether a PJ can be formed from the remaining sentences, and then you have the answer. Okay, let's go, let's try to solve this one. What is OSC? OSC is out of context parajumble. You have to find out the sentence which is the odd one out, which is the out of context line. A context basically means one paragraph will be taken, it will be jumbled up, one line will be taken from another paragraph or somewhere else in the report only, and then it will be mixed in with this, and you have to figure out which line is not part of the original paragraph. Yeah, I think you're in a very good you have the assurance of getting into MDI, Aldrin. Just focus on ABC and SP Gen, just see what best you can get. If you get a better offer, you will always feel that, okay, good, I used the 1 year to my advantage, I got a better offer. And if you don't do well, you always have the assurance of MDI. So actually I feel this is a good thing in a way. You have like the assurance of getting into MDI, and you don't have to worry about like failing. Even if you don't do well in CAT, you still have the original option to join MDI. How to enroll for the 25 mock test series? You can, we just put the link in the chat box. You can also just go to our, like there's a description box below the video. You can also take a look there. So let's see how people have done. Oh, I see 33 seconds left. Guys, I will say those, some of you have gotten the wrong answers. Look for completely new ideas being introduced, something that has not been mentioned earlier, where a new topic is being introduced, something that is not connected to anything that is mentioned over here. See, generally when I mention, okay, I am talking about XYZ, I have to introduce XYZ, then I can give details about XYZ, right? If no detail, if I have not introduced XYZ, I can't talk in detail about XYZ. That is basically what you should look for. There is a clear sentence where a new idea is being introduced. So M is saying I'm facing problem in option elimination. M, basically what you should focus on is that in option elimination, you have to do better at spotting the traps and distortions. We made a video specifically on distortions. We had a live session on distortions. So if you go to Cracku live sessions, at the page on top of live, you will see the live sessions that are there. We had a live session on distortions. Take a look at that video, because it will help you quite a bit in finding out what options are wrong, what have to be eliminated. Then you can use that to actually improve your accuracy. Okay, so let's see how people have done. A difficult one, I think. So let's try to answer this. Sometimes those DNA changes are genetic. People inherit them from their parents, but sometimes they are caused by environmental factors. A few lines of genetic code get deleted or mixed up, and that change allows cells to proliferate and grow in abnormal ways. Cancers are caused by mutations in human DNA. The more radiation a person was exposed to and the younger they were at the time of exposure, the more double-strand DNA breaks they would have. For years, epidemiological studies have shown that thyroid cancer was particularly common among people exposed to radioactive iodine. So where is this? Sometimes those DNA changes, those DNA changes, some DNA changes have to be mentioned. That is basically over here. A few lines of genetic code get deleted or mixed up, and this allows cells to proliferate and grow in abnormal ways. Some of those are genetic, sometimes they are caused by environmental factors. An example of environmental factors is this radioactive iodine, that if you are exposed to a radioactive iodine, you could have thyroid cancer. And firstly, you have the introductory line which says that Cancers are caused by mutations in human DNA. A few genetic codes get deleted. Sometimes those changes are genetic, sometimes they are environmental. An example of environmental changes to the genetic code. So 3215 makes a coherent paragraph. Take a close look at fourth sentence. More radiation a person was exposed to, continuing with this idea of radioactive iodine. The younger they were at the time of exposure, continuing the idea of radioactive iodine, the more double-strand DNA breaks they would have. But what are double-strand DNA breaks? When you say more double-strand DNA breaks they would have, earlier sentence should have said ki this is because of DNA double breaks. But where is double-strand DNA breaks mentioned? Anywhere in the passage. Paragraph nowhere is it mentioned. So you can't suddenly say, okay, this will be more. But what is this? Have you introduced what double-strand DNA breaks are there? It's not been introduced. So that's why 4 is the out of context one. Okay. So this is basically what you have to look out for. Any sudden new idea. Generally, they hide these at the end of the sentences and people like read, first to theek hi lag raha hai. They don't look at the end. Read the sentence till the very end. Then you will not miss it. Okay. Let's take a look at the last question of today's very long session. Okay. And then we'll be done with the entire VARC revision as such. All of you would have solved a lot of questions. Okay. Anmol is saying I can do PJs, but odd one out is difficult. Odd one out is PJs. Basically, I feel that PJs the possibility of getting the right answer is fairly low actually. So if you have 4 sentences, 24 combinations, your entered input would be 1 in 24 chance. OC 5 possibilities, you have 20% chance. Statistically, OCs are far easier. I will always first say that do OC. The chance of doing it properly is much higher than Parajumbles. Parajumbles, one small thing here, there, it is entirely wrong. Okay. I think, see, SNAP and MDI both are at an equal level. Always you can see, I will say take SNAP because after joining MDI also you will have to fill in a resume. So in my resume I wrote, okay, I got this much percentile in CAT, I got this much percentile in ZAT, I got this much percentile here, there. In my resume there was a section about competitive exams. So you'll get an extra point. Do very well in SNAP, you can put it in your resume, So still take it. I would always recommend taking all the exams. I always believe that you should have options on your hands. You should not depend on anyone. Okay, how are people doing? Okay. I think, sorry, why is there a calculator? Okay. Okay, 22 seconds are left. This is a slightly harder one, I think. See, this also has the same thing. Be carefully read. A new concept, new idea is being introduced, sneakily introduced in one of the lines. Be like hyper focused. Ye kahan se aa gaya? Suddenly, why is this new idea that is coming in? If you find it, then you will find the correct answer. Okay, let's see how people have done. I might done. Okay, this has been a difficult one, man. Many people struggled with it. It isn't 4, it isn't 4. Okay, so let's see. But dog thieves aren't the only ones who have capitalized on our emotional connection to animals. The love they have for a pet or for their child can be taken advantage of for monetary gain. In the Victorian era, kidnapping people's dog and holding them for ransom was a lucrative gig. The first commercially prepared dog food was introduced in England around 1860. Today, specialist pet doctors and high-tech veterinary procedures such as $6,500 for kidney transplants did not used to exist. So let us take a look at, there's a timeline also there, okay? There's Victorian times, around 1860, which is after Victorian times, and then there is today's times also. Generally, when times are mentioned, they are in chronological order. They have to be in chronological order. If they are part of the paragraph, they have to be in chronological order. But we have another, our usual markers, connectors. But the dog thieves aren't the ones who have capitalized on our emotions. So there are other people who would capitalize, get money out of you because of your love for your animal. So in Victorian era, there were kidnappers who used to take kidnapped dogs and hold them for ransom to get money. But they are not the only ones. These dog thieves who were kidnapping people's dogs were not the only ones. So there's a clear link between 3 and 1. Right? 3 and 1 basically tell you that kidnapping people's dog was a very lucrative game. But it's not just dog thieves. There were many people who used to take advantage of the love for the animals. So where is the other examples of people taking advantage of love for animals? In 4 it is there that you now buy, earlier they used to give whatever there was in the house, but now you buy specialized dog food. And now that was in 1860s. Now it is even worse. You are now paying $6,500 for a kidney transplant for your dog. So it has become even more commercialized. So your love has been exploited to quite a bit extent. So this is a coherent paragraph. This our timeline. This is Victorian era. This is 1860s. This is today. That itself should be a big idea about how you should order the sentences if they are there. One sneaky little thing that was there in the odd one out. I don't know if you guys notice it. The love they have for a pet. Who is this they over here? It has to refer to the people who actually are the pet owners. No? Where are they referred to? Where is it that they have been referred to as pet owners or pet parents? Here we are given our emotions. So it does not require any precursor. But when they say they, it requires a antecedent. Which is the antecedent? I can't find any antecedent for it. Secondly, or for their child. Which child? Every other sentence is about love for your pets. This suddenly, where is this for their child coming from? Neither is this pronoun having any antecedent, nor does this child have any reason to be in this paragraph about animal love. So therefore, 2 is the odd one out. How can we relate food being introduced? Food is a way of exploitation. This dog food has been given as an example of how people have capitalized on the emotional connection with animals. Now, giving anything that was prepared in the house is no longer acceptable. You have to give dog food because that is the standard now. So basically it is about commercialization or capitalization of animal love. So therefore 4 and 5 are examples of it. Why not 4? 4 is an example of it. 4 is an example. But these guys, dog thieves, are not the only thieves. There are other thieves also. The guys who make dog food are thieves. The vets, pet doctors are also in the guy. He is essentially comparing them to thieves as such. So this is a guy who feels that many people in this whole dog industry, pet industry, are just taking advantage. So this is today's session. Commercializing is so it is connected. Yeah, this is basically he's calling bundling dog thieves in the same idea of people who make dog food as well as vets. Okay, so with this we will be ending a very long session. For those who didn't understand any particular question, any particular part, just you can see the entire this again. Practice a lot of questions. For those who are looking for mocks, do check out Cracku's mocks. We have 5 full mocks plus 15 sectionals for just rupees 499. They have put in the link in the description box. We also have a 10 mocks package with video solutions. Even that link is there. And also do check out our 100 quant questions and 25 DILR sets. These are the last things that you should be doing in the last few days to CAT, because this is the best practice you can do before CAT. So with that, I'll be saying goodbye. All those guys who attempted and who did really, really well. SR, Lahari, Santoshini, Vaishnavi, Saket, Amit, Kaumudi Singh, all of you guys, Shubham, all of you did very, very well. Congratulations. And thank you guys for this session, and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.